Welcome to this week's edition of the Swider Insider, the first round playoff edition. I'm your host, Rusty Lindsay, joined with head football coach Mike Swider. Coach, your team finishes the regular season with a pair of convincing victories going back to the 55-6 win over Carthage and then a 58-0 win over Elmhurst. We haven't had a chance to talk with them, but how do you feel your team handled the last 2 weeks there of the regular season?
Well, I thought we did a good job. You know, it's as you come to the end, you got to really make sure, especially when you're playing some teams that their records would indicate that they're struggling a little bit. You're playing a couple teams like that. You got to keep your kids focused on the big picture, and so we brought a conference championship trophy out there, set it on the practice field, and told them, I said, this is what we're playing for, and we got to be the best Wheaton. We cannot worry about who our opponent is. We got to be the best Wheaton we can possibly be. Here's the trophy. This is what we're playing for. You know, our theme is Pound the Rock. We got a big boulder there on the edge of the field. I got a hammer sitting on that boulder, and as they exited the field, they had a look at the trophy, and then they went over there and took the sledgehammer and hit the rock and said, this is what we're playing for, and this is how we're going to do it. And it doesn't matter who it is, but this is who we got to be. And the kids responded well and got the job done. We got some kids in the game.
You go back to Carthage, we kind of went into that game saying that this is a team that could sneak up on you if you give them a chance, and you really never gave them a chance. The offense struggled a little bit, but 2 defensive touchdowns, a couple field goals, and we were able to put that game away before there was any opportunity for them to really get into the game.
Yeah, they did. Now, they are a little different team than Elmhurst. Elmhurst is rebuilding some things now, but they have some athletes that could hurt you a little bit, and they've got a little. They've had a coach there that's been there for a few years, so you're exactly right, and it's going to be a lot like this week. You got to strike early and can't let people hang around, and our kids did that, and we moved on.
Caden Sigler, back-to-back weeks now with an interception return for a touchdown. He's kind of been an overlooked part of this defense, but finding the end zone 2 weeks in a row is no small feat for a defensive back. What's really been the presence that he's brought to the defense this year?
Well, I think there's a couple things. First of all, people have got to know that kid had both his hips operated on last year. He had one in December, and 6 weeks later, at the beginning of January, he had his other hip operated on, 2 labrums. And just an amazing, amazing kid. And he came back from both those things, and then we moved him from corner to safety. And I'll tell you, the kid has responded exceedingly well, just exceedingly well. But the thing that he brings, and he adds with Corey, with our safeties, is physicality. Neither of them are big in stature. Now, they're thick kids, but their height is not. But I'm telling you right now, they will hunt you down and they will hit you. And they bring a little confidence, swagger. They bring an edge. And they bring an edge to the back half of our defense, and you can feel it, and some emotion, and some confidence, and some, like I said, some swagger to it. We knew Corey had it, and then you add this guy to it. There's a little something there. I'm telling you, that hasn't been there in the past, coming from both those guys.
When you add that to just the dominance you've seen with your front four, this is a defense that seems to get better every week as the year's gone on. And you mentioned swagger. I mean, this is a defense that every time they take the field, they go out there thinking they're not giving up points.
Yeah, I mean that's what they want. Absolutely, they do. And the thing that's really been impressive is what happens a lot of times when you have a good team and a good defense, they come off the field early, and then sometimes what happens is, there's a little letdown, and people are keeping their ones in, and you're playing with 2s and 3s, and as we saw against Carthage, they used a timeout. I'm just going to be honest with you. They used a timeout with 6 seconds left with their 1s on the field and scored on our 3s. Well, that stuff happens. But to be able to shut people out like we have on a number of occasions with our 2s and 3s playing against 1s has been a credit to those kids as well as the 1s as well. But it's permeating the entire offense, 2s and 3s.
You look at as this has built
the entire defense.
It has a carryover to the
Sure
offense because the offense can take the field knowing that there's a lot less pressure on them, knowing that they've got to put up 35, 40 points a game to win.
Right. No, exactly. You're exactly right.
You look at this offense, though, Luke Anthony with 5 touchdown passes last week against Elmhurst, all in the first half, able to make a pretty light day for your offense, but he's a guy, again, that's gotten better as the year's gone on, and you start to get TJ looking a little more healthy going into the playoffs here. This is an offense that is looking to build on and start to fire on all cylinders, which we haven't seen available the last few weeks.
Yeah, no, it's there's no question. I mean, TJ and Philip Nichols they've been walking on eggshells for 3 weeks. I mean, they have been banged up kids, and so they're starting to feel it a little bit, Noah, and hopefully they're on the road to being 100% here in the next few days, hopefully. And then, as you mentioned, Luke Anthony, I mean, he had to learn our whole offense. He was playing basketball. It's his first year at Wheaton. I mean, there's been a crescendo effect there, and you're right. He's playing well, and the only concern offensively, we lost a starting offensive tackle. He's really a good football player. Drew Smith broke his leg, and that hurts. And and Wyatt Southall is still in concussion protocol. And we got two of the guys backing him up. One had appendicitis. His appendix got removed, and the other one's got a concussion. So our offensive line is a little banged up right now, but hopefully we can get that straightened out. But no, those two kids, Philip and TJ, they're trending in the right direction.
Well, with a guy like TJ, as you're bringing him back, because he's a guy that you've likened to a sports car before. If something gets a little off in the sports car, it doesn't quite. You worry about it because the rest of it doesn't quite run right. And he's been a guy you've kind of been building up a little bit. He made some cuts Saturday that looked like we saw early in the year.
Yeah, he that sports car thing you bring it up is exactly right. You look at some big old offensive lineman, you wouldn't call him a sports car, you call him a truck. And they don't have to be so pretty; they can still function. They can look dirty, but TJ's got to be tuned up every other day. But when he's tuned, he can go, and he's feeling it a little.
With him going out, we've seen Will Smith step up. We've seen Stone Watson step up. I mean, this running back room continues to just next guy up, and there hasn't really been a significant drop-off from a very, very talented running back in T.J. Williams.
Well, and then you got to add Singleton, who was hurt. He was hurt for 4 weeks. We had Stone with a concussion. We had Singleton out, and T.J. out. And so we were playing with, Will, who stepped up, played well, and 2 freshmen. And so when people say that you got 1 or 2 tailbacks, you'll be fine. That's not necessarily the case. That position takes a beating, and you can see why the NFL obviously has concerns over it, and you can see why those guys don't get paid a ton of money because they're hard to keep healthy.
You've talked about building good teams have experienced depth, and that's kind of what you've seen. Will Smith is a senior who's been buried by really good backs. You're going to have Joey Paulina step up with Drew Smith out. He's senior.
Fifth-year senior. So,
I mean, this depth and these guys that have been around the program for a long time really put you in a position where, you want that guy out there, but you've got it. You're not putting a freshman or a sophomore out there.
No, it's huge. It's absolutely huge, and that's really critical. And Joey's come up and done just a great job for us. He's a big kid, and he's done a great job. And like I said, you got Stone Watson, who's a backup, but he's a 5th-year kid. So and there's a lot of 5th-year kids floating around this football team.
You got a pretty cold shower after that game against
That was totally unexpected.
But that had to feel pretty good after, like you said, this has been the goal for a couple years now since the 2015 championship and the run in 2016. That had to feel pretty good.
No doubt. I mean, there was, we ran the table in 14-15, had a great run in 16, and had overcome some adversity with 2 teams that I thought would be doing the same thing. I mean, it could have been 6 in a row for us. And so that there's just been some vindication, whatever. Yeah, that just would, we couldn't hold us down forever, and we were close the last 2 years, but to win an outright is hard, Rusty. That's hard to do. Ask anybody in any sport to run the table is just a hard thing to do, and these kids they did a great job.
What's the emotion like on Selection Sunday when you know that day's coming? You don't have to sweat it out.
Yeah, it is. It's still exciting though. But what they didn't know is for sure they were going to get a 1 seed. There was an expectation a little bit. But when you see the kids, it wasn't getting in; it was getting a 1 seed that just, it's hard, Rusty.
Yeah, what was the emotion in the room when the name pops up on the top line there for the first time?
First quad. Yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, they hooting and hollering, screaming, and putting chairs in the air and taking their shirts off and just standing on tables and anything any 18 to 22-year-old do, knowing that he was done something special. Yeah, it It's awesome, and to be able to play, the potential to be able to play at home for 3 weeks is, obviously you got to win each week, but it's hard to do, Rusty. It's just hard to do, man.
You look at the bracket as a whole. What are kind of your thoughts on the potential for this bracket?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, when you get in these things, by the time you get into the second round, you're in wars. Sometimes in the first round you're going to have a hard game. It's going to be a tough game, but it's not necessarily going to be a war. I mean, you're going to get it's going to be some wars, but I think if I were to look at the entire bracket of those top 16 teams, say, you don't see a lot of difference. I mean, there are some good teams, but you don't just see a team that's just like, it's impossible for them to get beat. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm interested to see what North Central, they can get by Wabash. It could be an interesting game against Mount Union.
Was there a little bit of relief not seeing that name pop up in the bracket again?
Yeah. I mean, on our side of the bracket.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt. No doubt. I mean, you mean Mount Union or North Central?
North Central. Well, both, because you've had to go through Alliance before.
Yeah. I mean, North Central, right. You'd just like to be able to see them in the finals again. And it's just hard. It's hard beating a team twice in the same year. So, but, hey, whoever shows up, you got to win anyhow.
For a team of North Central's caliber to be sitting there sweating it out, maybe the last team into the field, is there a fix to that program, to that problem? Because that's the fifth-ranked team in the country and very deserving of that ranking, and they're sweating to they're sweating to the end.
I'm telling you, I have been there with one loss and gone nowhere, and that's hard. It's really hard, but as long as we have automatic qualifiers, and I'm going to say some things publicly here, as long as we say, if you participate, if your conference participates in football, you are, and I'm going to use the word, entitled to a seat at the playoffs. That's going to happen. And the unfortunate thing is, athletics is supposed to teach us this lesson more than any other thing, is that you deserve nothing and you earn everything. That's what athletics should teach us, that you have to earn things. You don't deserve things. And as long as we are rewarding all conference champions, we're not teaching that lesson. And if we're calling athletics an educational experience to teach kids and prepare them for life, we are doing all of them a disservice. I've said my piece.
Given that probably isn't going to change, is the fix then to add a couple more Pool C spots so a team like North Central, or is it to make sure that teams have to have a larger number of teams in their conference to receive that automatic qualifier?
Well, I mean, there are still teams that have 8 people in their conference that are receiving it, so I don't know. Yeah, if they're not going to change that, if the NCAA is not going to reward the best teams, they're just going to put automatic people in there, then you're going to have to increase the Pool C. And there's no other answer.
Well, you look at your first-round opponent here in Martin Luther, a team that won the UMAC. Very unique offense. An offense we haven't seen in a few years since North Central quit running that option. And it's a different look on the option because they're running it out of shotgun. They're getting a quick mesh point. How do you attack this offense?
Here's the difficulty. The difficulty is they've been running it all year, repping it. And an option, if there's a limited call sheet, and they rep it, and they rep it, and they rep it, and they rep it, and they rep it. And everything that you've been doing all year, you've installed in training camp, and all that, you throw out the tape. It's now you've got to create a new idea to defend these guys, and you got to try to get as many reps in 1 week they've had in 10. That's the difficulty behind it. And what you got to do is you got to be simple. You got to be simple. You can't try to be this complicated, this real sophisticated call sheet. You got to be simple, and your kids got to have a dive, quarterback, pitch, and do their job, and not try to be all Americans out there, but just function as part of a spoke and a wheel.
When you look at these two running backs, normally you would see a UMAC team. These are different bodies for a UMAC. These are guys that have a CCW caliber build. When you look at the athletes on the field, what do you see out of this offense?
Yeah, I mean, the two backs, they want to carry the ball. The quarterback really is not someone who, I'm not saying he's not willing, but you can see that they want to get the ball in the hand of the backs one way or the other. And to be honest with you, they like it more just the first part of that triple is the one is that back, whoever it is, it's either one. But he's seeing it more often than the quarterback is. And you can see that's what they're trying to do. So we got to really target those guys. We got to take away. And anytime you stop and all, you got to take the dive out of the picture. You have to. And you can always chase the other people. But if that dive starts running vertical on a regular basis, you're in trouble.
Given a little bit of the completion percentage and when they throw the ball, is there a temptation now to stack the box a little bit against them and take that away?
No question. And they just don't throw it very often. You can see they're 3rd and 7 and 8, and they're running the ball. They really are. And so there's no question that you're not going to see 2 high safeties. Let's just put it that way.
How much does their strength on offense play into your strength on defense with your defensive tackles that have just been incredibly disruptive all year? I mean, that has to make it incredibly hard for them to game plan for.
Very hard, yeah. Because you can line up a block and say, by geometry, we can get this. Which everybody, I'm not condemning them. They're going to do it. Geometry tells you we can get this, this, and this. And geometry tells us we can't get that, so an athlete's got to get that. Well, geometry doesn't always work with Dallas McCray. So, we'll see.
Well, Coach, thanks for your time. We'll get a chance to talk to you after this game with the post-game press conference, and hopefully we're doing this a few more times this year.
You bet. Thanks, Rusty.
Good afternoon and welcome inside the press box here at McCully Stadium alongside Dan Studebaker. I'm Rusty Lindsay. Thanks for tuning in here on the Wheaton Thunder Sports Network for NCAA playoff football. It's been a few years since McCully Stadium has had an 11th game of the year here, but it is a welcome addition to the schedule as we get ready to go for a noon kickoff between the Wheaton Thunder, who are the number 1 seed in the West region, if you were to geographically break up the bracket, and the Martin Luther College Knights, the champions of the UMAC. And Dan, we'll start with the Thunder. Obviously, we haven't had a chance to break down their last 2 games. A 55-6 victory over Carthage that saw another shutout until the Redmen called a timeout in the last few seconds to score on 4th and goal with 5 seconds left, and then a 58-0 victory over Elmhurst. So for the Thunder, this defense just continues to be week to week to week, consistently just a dominant force.
Well, that's the thing we've wanted to see is Wheaton just take care of their own business. You know, they got through the meat of their schedule early in the conference play after getting North Central done. The concern was that they haven't really played quote-unquote meaningful football in 5 or 6 weeks here, right? It's been a long time since they had the chance to play someone up to their caliber, but it's good to see Wheaton just get the job done. Offensively and defensively, but especially on the defensive side of the ball, just no letdown so far. You know, they had a pretty bad injury to Daniel Herber, you know, earlier in the season against North Park, and we thought that might be impactful, but you know they've picked up right where he left off, which is great to see, and just keeping points off the board. They're taking a ton of pride in that, and Luke Anthony on the offensive side of the ball has just progressed week after week after week, taken ownership of the offense and just kept this thing going. So really good to see. Great to be home again, potentially for 3 weeks. Pretty fun.
Yeah, first time Wheaton has seen its name come at the top of the bracket in program history, so they've got a home stretch to the semifinals if they can continue to hold their weight. Wheaton, this game comes for the Thunder with a mix of returning health and losing some players. Drew Smith goes down with a broken leg, as you heard Coach Swider mention in the Insider, had successful surgery early in the week, but you lose your starting left tackle. Joey Paulina is going to step in and start there, a fifth-year senior, the transfer from the University of Montana. So this offensive line that has seen so much consistency throughout the year is going to have to make a little bit of an adjustment. But fortunately, they had a couple drives last week, and Joey Paulina is an experienced veteran tackle that he can step in and really pick up right where Drew Smith was, which was having a great season.
Well, it's just terrible to see Drew Smith go down. You know, a guy that got significant playing time as a freshman, has had a little bit of an up and down career. You know, he's gone in and out of the starting lineup, but was really playing high-quality smash-mouth football. I mean, he was doing a great job in the run game and great job keeping Luke Anthony upright from the left tackle position. As you mentioned, Joey Paulina, he's a guy that we want to see more of. We've wanted to see more of, and he's going to get his opportunity now in meaningful games. So, there isn't a ton of depth on the offensive line, but there are guys who have experience, who have significant playing time, who can step in and fill the role, and I think they'll just keep it going.
Some of that depth is also a little shaken up. You heard him mention Wyatt Southall and Samuel Dell are both in concussion protocol. Expected back next week, but Wyatt Southall is a guy who we've seen in and out as they go to this Hibben package, and he's worked in with the ones quite a bit. So there's some flexibility with that line. If they want to get flex, Gabe McGill played tackle last year. There's options coming up down the pike, but you also get returning help this week. Phil Nichols is going to be back, and that's big for a punt return game that struggled last week. Nate Magnuson put the ball on the ground twice. He only lost one of those fumbles, but Phil Nichols is a dynamic returner. Was on pace for a 1,000-yard receiving season before he got hurt. And now he comes back. You started to see T.J. Williams get back into the swing of things. He made a couple cuts last week that looked reminiscent to what we saw earlier in the year. So you've got two dynamic playmakers coming back and reaching full health as we go into the most important part of the season.
Absolutely. There wasn't a letdown in the offense, but having a guy like Phil Nichols come back, he's Mr. Reliable in the passing game. He runs sharp routes, catches everything thrown his way, has made big catches. He's always the guy that you can count on to get the first down for you. He gets those quiet, hidden yards that he just keeps fighting. So it's good to have him back. And obviously, TJ, as we talked about, not having to. There's a ton of depth from the running back position, but he's a special player. So to have him back and to see those cuts that you mentioned last week, it's like he's back, right? 2 weeks ago when we last broadcast, we saw him out here, and it was like he just didn't quite look right, just didn't quite have the hop in his step just because he was still nursing that ankle. But he looked good last week, and I expect him to have a great day today.
You look at Wheaton's opponent today, the Knights of Martin Luther College, who come in 9-1 on the season, an opening week loss to Gustavus Adolphus, and then they run the table in the UMAC, their second straight year as conference champions. They make their second playoff appearance in program history today. Now, this is an offense that Wheaton has not seen in a long time. They used to see it yearly with North Parkland was running that triple option, but this is a different look. This is a spread option offense that's second in the nation in rushing yards. So like you heard Coach Swider mention in the Insider, you've got to throw out everything you've talked about for 10 weeks, and now it comes down to playing gap assignment football, playing discipline, know who your guy is, and continue to rep that play after play against a team that's done it all season, and you have 4 days of practice to get a look at it.
Well, listening to Coach Swider talk about that, certainly when you ran into offenses like these, like the Augustana of old, the North Park of old, right, where it has become gimmicky, but it used to be the way football was played, right? You line it up, you have things going on in the backfield to try to create mismatches and things like that, but it all starts at the middle. We've been looking at it all year, and it's going to be really, really, really tough for Martin Luther to get anything going if they don't have an answer for Dallas McCray, which no one has so far this year. And Jake Holliday, who actually has more tackles than Dallas does, himself is just an absolute load in the middle at close to 300 pounds. And they're just so active and so disruptive in the middle that they'll get to handoffs before it even happens, right? Before the running back can even get the ball, they have a chance of tackling the quarterback. So they're going to have to get the ball out quick. They're going to have to make decisions very quick. This will be the fastest team they've seen all year by far.
Two dynamic running backs for the Knights. Austin DeNoyer, just shy of 1,300 yards on the year on 200 carries. The UMAC Conference Player of the Year, Joshua Kren, 1,010 yards, 13 touchdowns on just 126 carries, both of them. Last year was DeNoyer who was the conference MVP on the offensive side of the ball. This year it's Kren. So they've got 2 1,000-yard rushers. They're averaging over 300 yards rushing a game, but they're playing the number 1 rush defense in the country. So there's got to be something's got to give here. But like you mentioned, this comes down to playing disciplined football. If you attack and suck down on that first handoff, then you've got a quarterback in Ethan Aguilar who's athletic enough, and a second running back or a wide receiver. They do run that wide receiver option look, that they've got athletes that can get the ball into space and make you hurt with chunk plays.
Yeah, that's the thing about disruption in the middle, too, is that if you get too far upfield, if you get sucked down, if you buy a fake, you could be in trouble. You'll get guys in space, and obviously these are capable running backs with 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns. You got another guy with another 1,000. They can run the football. That's what they want to do. That's what they're going to have to do, because Ethan Aguilar has only completed 52% of his passes this year for 1,300 yards. So not very well balanced offense. I mean, they're going to come running. They're going to try to keep the tempo fast. A little different from they're not going to try to keep the ball. They're going to try to score quickly, but it's going to be on the ground.
One of the different looks of this option offense, you're used to seeing the long read as you read that defensive end. This is a fast-paced read offense. The quarterback is meeting the snap, as is the running back. So when the snap is coming out of the shotgun, they are both stepping forward and getting that mesh point as the ball gets back to the quarterback. So it is a very quick read, and I would expect this opening drive, there will be instances where they're going to have some success getting that ball to the outside in the second guy and the third pitch option, because that first time you see that, it's very quick read for this Martin Luther offense led by Ethan Aguilar.
And like we said, it's going to have to be very quick, right? Because Wheaton is going to come downhill at them, and they're going to have more people in the box because they know what's coming, right? As Coach Swider said, the intent is to add people in the box. There will not be two high safeties today because they just aren't worried or concerned very much with the passing game because of the capabilities of this the defensive backs for Wheaton. But look for shots, right? They may take a shot. They may try to go to the air, but they're going to have to get rid of the ball quickly. But if you look at the matchup here, the offensive line is big. Martin Luther's offensive line for a team that likes to run the ball and get things going quickly like they do, they're big. But that's the matchup of the day, is the O-line versus the D-line, and who's going to have a better day.
When Wheaton has the football, you're looking at a Martin Luther defense that is very experienced. 4 seniors on the front. They've all earned all conference honors each or one of the last 2 seasons. You've got a senior linebacker in Tristan Ponkow. You've got senior safeties, including the defensive UMAC Player of the Year in Ian Paulson, who leads this team in tackles with 66 tackles. So these are guys who've been through this before. These are guys who saw significant time against St. John's last year. They have playoff experience, and it's a defense that morphs a little bit. They list themselves as a 4-4-3 defense. They look more like a 4-2-5 defense. They'll show you a 4-3 look. You just have to really recognize where personnel is lined up, because they will give you opportunities based on how they line up if you can pinpoint what the personnel grouping is for Martin Luther.
Well, and one of those things that I was talking with Coach Jesse Scott to be, before the game, before we headed up to the box, the 2 defensive tackles, Nate Holes and Dan Gensmer, will, when they shift from an over to an under look, they'll actually do the old school monkey roll, the barrel roll, and the 3 technique will jump over the top. And that's one of those things they're just going to try to create mismatches and try to create confusion on the front. And seeing that on film, they're going to try to catch that off guard. But you look at the size of these guys, I mean, they are smaller on defense, but if we look at the Wash U game last year, there was a guy the size of Dan Gensmer at 5'9", 190 pounds that had 3.5 sacks. So don't let the size confuse you, or I mean, he'll come at you. He's a capable player. He's a guy that can get it done, but he's going to have a tough day today.
Wheaton coming out of the locker room here with about 6 minutes and change to go. Looks like Martin Luther still down in there. As you get a look at Mike Swider, the CCIW Coach of the Year for the 7th time in his career. Both of these coaches named their conference Coach of the Year. Both of these teams boasting their respective conference Defensive Players of the Year. You look at the bracket on a whole, you saw 3 Pool C's come out in the first bracket announced, and all of a sudden you could almost feel the nervous energy if North Central was going to get in. They do get in. They get a good first-round draw, but they've got a killer second-round draw. But for the Cardinals, if you give Brock Rudder a chance, that's a team that can make it to Shenandoah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you look back, and North Central was very much on the bubble. They were sweating last week. I mean, I think the thought process was, like, they have as good a resume as any Pool C team does, but some things fell, out of place for them, and it became difficult. So their road was more difficult. Then they draw a playoff berth at home, but then they have to go to Mount Union in the second week. But Mount Union's a team that almost lost to North Central 6 years ago at Alliance.
As we will break now for the national anthem. Welcome back here to McCully Stadium. I'm Rusty Lindsay alongside Dan Studebaker as we take you up to kickoff here. First round matchup between the Wheaton Thunder and the Martin Luther College Knights. And Dan, you look at this West region that Wheaton's going to have to work its way through. As this season unfolded, it just felt like the West could be a monster. And what Wheaton got's a pretty good draw and pretty good opportunities, but most importantly, an opportunity that continues to run through McCully Stadium.
No doubt about it. I mean, I think that, having been around the program now for 16 years in total as a player and then as, obviously a fan and now in the broadcast booth, I think this is Wheaton's best chance so far, right? And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, Wheaton is not on Mount Union's side anymore, and the first opportunity that they would play would be in the national title. But if you look at who's in the bracket with them? They face the winner. Whoever wins today faces the winner of Central and Oshkosh, both very capable teams. The winner of the WIAC and Central, who can put up points on anybody. And then, the quarterfinal game will be between very likely St. John's, but you also have a Linfield team in there who has national championships and has experience in the playoffs. I mean, these are playoff-tested teams that Wheaton will have to get through for the chance of playing in Texas 2 weeks in a row.
McCully Stadium has never hosted a quarterfinal, so it's a great opportunity to really have a marquee event here at McCully Stadium. Teams down on the field for the coin toss now. As the coin toss goes on, we'll check in with our sideline reporter, Cassidy Thornburg. Cassidy, for late November, seems like this is as best we could ask for weather-wise as we get set to count down here 2 minutes and counting towards a first-round playoff game.
Yes, Jesse, for late November, it's cold, but there's no snow on the ground, so that's going to be helpful in the game today. Also, just a quick note for you, yesterday, Coach Swider shared with the guys that 3 keys to the game today. We're going to play hard, we're going to play fast, we're going to play physical. One more thing for you, Rusty. Philip Nichols is dressed, and I'm told that he's a full go for the game today, so expect him to be making some big moves out there.
Thanks, Cassidy. We'll continue to check in with our sideline reporter, Cassidy Thornburg, as we go throughout the day, but that's a huge relief for the Thunder to see number 11 back in the fold, and you'll probably see him early because Wheaton's going to take the opening kickoff. I would expect Phil Nichols to be out there and ready to make an instant impact. This is a guy that's got a lot of energy after missing 3 weeks now, and someone who I would expect a big play from at some point today.
Yeah, he's ready to roll. A guy like him is an experienced guy. He's been around the program forever and has been producing for a long time. I know how hard it was for him to not be out here, but presuming he's 100%, as Cassidy mentioned, I mean, he's ready to go. He's healthy. He feels good. His body's in good shape. I mean, he's a playmaker, and he's somebody that Wheaton needs to have on the field all the time on offense.
Games in the Eastern Time Zone already kicking off. Let's take a quick look around the nation. We've already penciled Salisbury into the second round because with 10 minutes left in the second quarter, they lead SUNY Maritime 49-0. Mount Union 34-7 over Hanover. Same point, 10 minutes left, second quarter. Huntington and Barry figures to be one of the better first-round games. It's Huntington 13, Barry 10. Wartburg 27-3 over Hope. Muhlenberg 14-0 and a half over MIT. Western New England 14-6 over Brockport. Wesley 20-7 over Framingham State. Case Western 14-3 over Union. And Bridgewater 13-7 over Delaware Valley as the opening kickoff is pinned to the sideline, taken by Matthew Tucker, who goes right up the sideline. Tucker with a lane to the 40, cutting back 50, and he's tripped up as he cuts inside, and Wheaton's going to start at midfield. That was a return similar to what we saw a few years back in the blizzard, right pinned to the sideline, and right up the sideline they go. Wheaton with a big return, similar to what they did to open the first-round game against Lakeland a few years back.
Yeah, great field position to start the game as Wheaton's going to have the ball on the 50-yard line. And look for them to just be up-tempo, fast, keep the ball moving, as Cassidy mentioned, just be physical, be fast, and just go.
Jacob Schmidt, Dan Ginsmer, Nate Holtz, and Keith Brasso, the 4 seniors across the front for Martin Luther. Senior linebacker C.J. Fury, Tristan Ponkow, the sophomore linebacker Ben Riegsecker. Corners are Ben Art and Aiden Holeen. Joe Harroweg and Ian Paulson, the senior safeties. This is a give to Adam Tarini on an end around to start the game, and Tarini tucks inside the 45 to the 44-yard line for 6 yards as this Thunder offense takes over to start the game. And as we mentioned, Drew Smith out, had successful surgery earlier this week, so you'll see Joey Paulina starting at left tackle next to Luke Rogers, Jake Hibben, Gabriel McGill, and Clay Wagner. McGill and Hibben earning first-team All-CCIW honors, Wagner second team, as Wheaton has a 2nd and 5 from the 45. Luke Anthony, second-team All-CCIW quarterback, play fake, back in the pocket, well protected. He's going up the rail. He's got Tarini, and that ball is, I think it's intercepted.
Yeah.
He had a guy up the rail. Burt McJunkin was wide open. He threw it into double coverage, and I think that's Dan Arndt.
Yeah, that just looked to me like Luke Anthony just made the decision from the go that he was going to Torini. Threw the ball right into double coverage, as you see here. And just a great catch by the DB.
Yeah, that's Dan Arndt with great coverage along with Herwig running deep. And it's an interception at the 7-yard line. And as you saw that replay, McJunkin's wide open down the sideline. Phil Nichols is wide open on the other side of the field. That's going to be one that Luke Anthony wants back when he looks at the film after this game. So 1st and 10 for Martin Luther under the direction of Ethan Aguilar. Split backs, they will give to the first man in, and he will get a couple yards, wrapped up by Schindeldecker. And that's the UMAC Player of the Year, Joshua Kren, who carries up to the 10-yard line. They're starting 5 up front. Set 2-time All-UMAC left tackle Derek Gilroyd, the freshman Isaiah Hom at left guard, Sam Boder, the sophomore, the second-team All-UMAC selection at center. 2-time first-team All-UMAC Carrington Cunningham, the right guard, and Andrew Ozarzik, the 2-time All-Conference right tackle. Give again is to the first man through and is wrapped up and buried by Holiday, as well as Schindeldecker, and this time it's Austin Denoyer, who was last year's UMAC offensive MVP. First team again, all UMAC this year, and it's quickly 3rd and 6 for the Knights.
Yeah, as you notice there on the give, it is as Rusty said, they're trying to get the ball very quickly into the ball carrier's hand, as you see Ethan Aguilar coming downhill as he's handing the ball off and making his decision. But once again, you just try to run in the middle. It's going to be really tough for Martin Luther to get anything going.
Denoyer right, Kren to the left side. They will speed option to the tackle. Aguilar will keep, and he has nowhere to go. He gets off tackle for a yard. But Pat O'Connell holding the edge well, and that will bring out the punt unit for Martin Luther, who is directed by the second-team All-Conference punter and kicker Micah Otto.
Really, really good job by Wheaton's defense here. You know, the nature of this offense is they'll take the 2 to 3 yard carries as long as they get a chunk play in there, right? It's just the old school where it's just 2, 3, 10, right? They just try to get the ball moving downfield, but good job by Wheaton to limit there.
Otto with a left-footed punt. It's Matthew Tucker who makes the reception at his own 48. Tucker's going to go straight up the middle, cutting to the outside. Matthew Tucker brought down from behind. He only had Otto to beat, but he's going to set Wheaton up at the Martin Luther 36-yard line. And Matthew Tucker making an instant impact, the freshman.
Looking very, very good on 2 returns so far today. He's been productive in the passing game, too. I think that kid has a great career ahead of him.
The brother of Jeremiah Tucker, both of them out of Arlington, Texas. Products of Grace Prep, and Wheaton starts at the Martin Luther 36-yard line. TJ Williams, the lone back. You see 4 wide receivers spreading 2 by 2. They will pitch to TJ Williams running to the right side. Williams will get to the 35, and he stood up and rolled awkwardly out of bounds. Gain of maybe a yard there.
Good play by Keith Brassow, the defensive end from Martin Luther there to beat the reach block and stay off the block. Hibben tried to get it there, stayed on him, but good job by stretching it out and getting him to the sideline.
I'm not so sure Hibben didn't get away with a block in the back on that second one. Second and 9 as you see Stone Watson check in the backfield this time. Watson, one of the guys who has experience from Wheaton's last playoff run when they had made the run to the quarterfinals against Mary Hardin Baylor. Quick tunnel screen to Torini. Torini has a seam. Torini's to the house.
He's gone.
Touchdown Thunder.
Just a great job by Wheaton there to get those blocked up quickly. You know, basically a long handoff from Luke Anthony to Adam Torini, and just had the kitchen sink of blockers ahead of him, and nobody touched him to the end zone. Yeah, very quick play, very quick hit.
Yeah, and that's something that Wheaton has shown the last few weeks, and Torini's got sprint speed. And once he had the lane, there was nobody going to catch him. His 12th touchdown catch of the year, as Griffin Bowes will do the kicking honors. Bowes named first team all CCIW, and he drills the extra point, his 60th of the season. And Wheaton, after turning it over on the first play, it's 2 two-play drives, one for an interception and one for a touchdown. That's a great block coming out there by Rogers, and then Torini with an easy sprint to the house.
Think about what that says about Wheaton's offense, Rusty, when Griffin Bowes kicked his 60th extra point of the season. 60 touchdowns, and we're 4 minutes into the 11th game of the season.
Bowes has really he's been consistent, but he's also shored up the kicking game the last few weeks. He had a 46-yard field goal at Elmhurst, and he struggled early, but he's been pretty good down the stretch on the field goal unit when Wheaton's kind of going to need it most as you start to face these better defenses in playoff action.
3 points is going to matter a lot more than it has so far through conference play. But that was the head scratcher about Griffin Bowes because he's been such a sure kicker. The leg wasn't a problem. It was just the accuracy, and it's good to see that back when it matters.
So Bowes steps this one off. Wheaton kicking left to right. Not a whole lot of wind today. Beautiful afternoon here at McCulley Stadium. And this one going to back the man up to the end of the end zone, bring it out 1 yard deep, and met at the 15-yard line. Great coverage. Wheaton, one of the best kickoff coverage units in the country. And not a whole lot of room there for Matt Bayman.
Already this early in the game, Rusty, you just see the difference in speed on the coverage team there. Wheaton down there meeting him at the 15-yard line. Probably not a great decision for him to bring that out, especially with the opportunity to fair catch the ball now on the kickoff. Just wasn't a great decision, and they're pinning themselves back, and it's a field position battle now. Wheaton's winning that now, starting on their own 50, scoring quickly, and then here we go on the 20 or 15-yard line.
3 wide receivers motion across the formation by Kren. Aguilar steps up. Now he's going to pass, going to throw this one deep. Robbie Schwartz in coverage, and Schwartz is beat down the sideline. The catch is made by Micah Jarvis. Robbie Schwartz got turned around looking for that ball, and it's the 1-for-1 in the passing game for Martin Luther as they hit a big play right up to midfield.
Well, that's going to be a tough matchup there for Robbie Schwartz all day. Micah Jarvis at 6'3", 215 pounds. I mean, it's not a great thrown ball, but Micah Jarvis did a great job of finding the ball in the air, finding his feet, catching it, and securing it for a first down. A nice play.
Only the fourth catch of the year for Micah Jarvis, the senior out of St. John's, Antigua, and Barbuda. 1st and 10 right at midfield. Give is to Denoyer, who's met in the backfield by McCray. He will roll forward for a gain of a yard, and it'll be 2nd and 9 here for the Knights. McCray and Schindeldecker meeting there, and Schindeldecker's been, you've seen him active coming down the line, and you wonder if maybe Wheaton is crashing the defensive ends and telling their linebackers to pump up outside since they're walking that safety down into the box as an extra defender.
Yeah, Rivers been great this season. Great call by Doug. Calling him out and making, that's Doug's guy, and he's had a great year.
Aguilar to pass, and that is way too high for Josh Wardell at 6'3", their leading receiver with 15 catches.
That's only his 130th pass attempt of the season into the 11th game. They do not want to pass the ball, and Wheaton's already showing that they're going to have to do that, right? It's only 7-0, so Martin Luther shouldn't be giving up their running attack, and I don't expect them to yet. But a guy who's averaging 6.5 yards a carry has, another key carry for 2 yards.
Ball comes out at the end of this play. Wheaton's trying to knock it loose as Caden Sigler trying to knock it out of the pile.
Going.
Ball is still loose. I never heard a whistle, and
Wheaton ball.
Luke Gamicha comes out of the pile with the football. It looked like Denoyer, there was a bobbled snap by Aguilar, and he rushed the handoff to Denoyer. We'll see it again here on the replay. This football was never secured, and I'm not so sure Denoyer wasn't down there, and Wheaton catches a break.
Well, you put a lot of pressure on Ethan Aguilar, with these defensive linemen and linebackers coming downhill. He on that play there, he was trying to move forward as the snap was coming. That puts a ton of pressure on the center to deliver a good ball, and he did there, and Aguilar just didn't catch it. So it threw off the total operation, and no one ever had control of the ball.
1st and 10 from the Martin Luther 42-yard line. Wheaton's third drive of the game. They've started at midfield or better all 3 times. This is Stone Watson on a sweep to the left side. Watson with a lane, breaking to the outside, and Watson breaks the tackle 20, 15, and he's going to be shoved out of bounds around the 10-yard line.
Just the point of attack, it's unbelievable. Let me just look on the replay here. You see the blockers out ahead of him, and he just doesn't get touched until he's into the second level. Does a great job of breaking a tackle here, getting to the sideline, and just a very good run by Stone Watson, a guy who we've seen really come around in TJ Williams' absence. He's been very, very good in the passing game and come around a lot in the running game as well.
As Williams steps back into the game as the lone back, and now Wheaton will drop out into the shotgun. 1st and 10 from the 13, 5 minutes in. Play fake for Luke Anthony. Anthony rolling to his right, wisely going to throw this one away as it was well read by Jacob Schmidt, the first-team all-conference defensive end. He held up Jack Miller coming across the formation as he was allowed to do, and then got onto the quarterback, and Anthony wisely takes his medicine and keeps Wheaton on schedule with 2nd and 10.
And that's something that Luke has been very, very good at this year. He has an interception in this game, but he doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't give it to the other team. He makes very good decisions to get rid of the balls. We see the jumbo package coming in here with Big Jake Hibben the starting center in the backfield at fullback.
I formation they will give on the counter to TJ Williams. Breaks out of a tackle. Williams trying to get to the corner, stiff arming, and he's not going to get there. Well stretched out by Ian Paulson, Tristan Pankow, and the Knights defense, and they're going to keep Wheaton in 3rd and long. And that was Brassow setting a good edge there against Clay Wagner and forcing TJ Williams to bounce to the outside. So 3rd and 10 for the Thunder. And it's a lone empty backfield for Luke Anthony. 4-man rush, well protected. Throwing the corner to Nichols, and he overthrew him.
Yeah, from the get, that ball, when it left Luke Anthony's hand, you knew it was just sailed out of the end zone. And not a great drive for Wheaton there. I mean, they had a great run by Stone Watson to get it started off, but just, didn't block the end on one play. The end made a great play, and then an overthrown ball, and TJ couldn't get to the corner, and just that's the type of stuff you need to zip up in this game.
Yeah, it looks like Wheaton trying to do a little too much on offense early on. So it'll be Bowes to kick the field goal from 36 yards right hash, and that is good for Griffin Bowes. Cleanly knocks that one through for the all-conference kicker. He's now 11 of 17 this year, keeps riding the heater, and Wheaton takes a 10-0 lead with just over 9 minutes left in the first quarter.
Yeah, to your point, Rusty, what I'd like to see from Wheaton in this game is just, the defense is going to continue doing what they do. You don't need to do anything special. You just need to go out and make tackles, fill gaps, make the plays that you need to play. But offensively, you just need to have, continue your identity. Don't try to get cute because you think you see something, right? Just do what you have to do. So that's run the ball, get the ball in space to guys like TJ Williams and Phil Nichols, and don't try to do anything cute.
We'll check in here with Cassidy Thornburg down on the sideline. Cassidy, the Wheaton defense has seen this option attack now for a couple times. What's being said down there on the sideline as they continue to talk through what they're seeing?
Yeah, well, on the same note of what Dan was talking about, really got to be ready to make a play. A guy who was ready to make a play was Luka Micha. You hear on the sidelines people say, all right, Meach, because of that amazing fumble recovery that allowed the Thunder to get things rolling.
Bo's going to pin this one, and it's going to check up at the 4-yard line. It's going to stay in bounds, and Martin Luther's in big trouble.
Man.
We've seen Bose be a weapon in the kickoff because he's got this great touch, but it's a lob-wed finish with driver distance on that ball. And I think they thought it was going to sail into the end zone. That was Bayman again. Looked like he thought it was going to sail into the end zone, and then it just stops at the 4-yard line. I
mean, the flight of that ball made it look like it was going to go out of bounds before getting to the pylon, but man, that just pins you back in an offense that, they need many plays to score the football, and it's really tough when you're starting inside your own 10-yard line.
1st and 10 from the 9. This is Denoyer running to the right side. Gamicha is going to bounce him and bring him down for a loss on the play. Wyatt Lee was ready as well, but Luke Gamicha showing he's ready to step up in the absence of Daniel Herber, and he makes a play for a loss of a yard.
Yeah, really nice play by Gamicha to break down and pursue as soon as he goes sideways.
So 2nd and 11 for the Knights, back to the 8-yard line. This twin back look when they go on this spread option, and both of them are in the backfield. They run both of them a lot of different directions. Give you a counter look, give you a cross-buck look. That time it was Denoyer against the formation. 2nd and 11. Kren comes in motion, left to right. And Aguilar will step back to pass. And that is incomplete. Good coverage by Robbie Schwartz. That time Dallas McCray just chucked the lineman away as he tried to get to the quarterback. And it'll be 3rd and long. You'll see it on the replay. Watch Dallas McCray just toss. That's the running back, Denoyer.
just such a physical player. And, doing that, he isn't getting to the quarterback, but when the quarterback sees bodies flying into the backfield like that, he's naturally going to rush his throw.
So 3rd and long for the Knights. As Kren splits 2-by-2 the wideouts. Denoyer in the backfield with Aguilar. Now Kren in motion left to right. Wheaton shifts their coverage. 4-man rush. Back to pass Aguilar. Aguilar going to be flushed out of the pocket. Rushing up is Wyatt Lee, and Aguilar slides down right at the original line of scrimmage. Wheaton with great coverage on the play, and that will bring out the punt unit yet again.
And Martin Luther just can't get anything going. I mean, this is, again, we've said it already on the broadcast, but they're facing real speed, for the first time. This is a team that ran through their conference and easily won the UMAC. but a team that, lost their first game of the season to the 4th place finisher in the MIAC and Gustavus Adolphus. So, Gustavus is a capable team, but this is speed that they have not seen so far. And Matthew Tucker with another great return on the punt.
Wow, Tucker's still rolling all the way down to the 30. Wheaton's got big shoes to fill in losing Phil Nichols next year, but Matthew Tucker has shown some things in the return game this year.
Well, and in the passing game as well. I mean, he's a guy that, he catches the football, he runs good routes, and he's a playmaker as a freshman. Good to see that happen. That speaks to the depth of Wheaton, that hasn't necessarily been there in the last 5 years or so.
See if Wheaton can get the run game going here. Up 10-0 halfway through the first quarter. I'm Rusty Lindsay alongside Dan Studebaker, joined on the field by Cassidy Thornburg. Thanks for tuning in to first-round playoff action. Luke Anthony's going to throw the quick hitter again to Nichols, and Nichols can't get inside the tunnel as Wheaton tried to run that same look out to the left, but just a little shorter with Nichols, and it ends up getting a couple yards, and it'll be 2nd and 6. Didn't look like Paulina was really able to get out to the mark he wanted to. Had the defensive end lined up outside of him, but Nichols they really able to make enough.
One block away right there, and it was the safety at the point of attack. Just couldn't get anybody on him, couldn't get anybody in the way. And
delayed handoff to T.J. Williams, and T.J. trying to find room behind Jake Hibben. Not a whole lot of room there, and it'll be 3rd and 6, excuse me. Pulled Luke Rogers on that play. It was Rogers he was following. So 3rd and 6 from the 26 of Martin Luther. Trips to the left side, outside in is Lean, Torini, and Nichols. Terrell Brown split to the right side. He had a 50-yard touchdown last week.
Boy.
The handoff was dropped by Anthony, and that'll be Martin Luther football. It was a long read by Anthony with T.J. Williams, a long mesh.
Well, and you see T.J., T.J. on the replay right here, TJ doesn't think he's getting the handoff. He just keeps going. He's looking for a block right there, and he just, I think Luke just held that ball a little bit too long and pulled it away from TJ, and TJ thought, I'm not the running back, so I'm going to go to the second level and make a block, and just a blown play right there, and you just can't give the ball away in the playoffs, ever, but in the playoffs especially.
Dan Ginsmer makes the recovery for Martin Luther, the first-team All-UMAC defensive tackle a year ago. 1st and 10 from their own 22. Best field position of the day for Martin Luther. Back to pass is Aguilar. He's well blocked up. He's going deep and too far.
Pretty good ball from Aguilar right there. He threw it to a receiver who was a little bit open, but just had a little bit too much juice on it and threw it, over his head.
Zach Copeland, the intended receiver on the play. And you see Martin Luther, they haven't passed a ton, but they're coming out gunning here today.
Well, and you're going to get that look, like that. You're going to get a lot of one-on-one man coverage when you bring extra safeties into the boxes. There's a flag on the play.
In the backfield, you almost think they had too many people in the huddle.
Well, I don't even know that they huddled, did they?
Timeout.
So they called timeout before the huddle broke, so they are able to avoid the penalty. Halftime score from Holland Wartburg, 27-3 over Hope. Halftime score Salisbury 63-0 over SUNY Maritime, and it just goes to half as Mountain Union will take a 41-7 lead over Hanover. Muhlenberg 21-0 over MIT. Case Western 21-3 over Union. Bridgewater 13-7 over Delaware Valley, and Barry 17-13 over Huntingdon.
Coach Swider talked about it a little bit in the Insider. We don't need to get into too much, depth on this conversation, but SUNY Maritime at 5-5, getting an automatic qualifier. The NCAA's basically put their foot down and said if you compete in football and you have a conference, you get an automatic qualifier. But 63-0 in the first half is atrocious.
5-yard run on 2nd down for Martin Luther. That's Denoyer on the carry. Action here in the Central. North Central leading 7-6 over Wabash. St. John's and Aurora tied at 7 in the first quarter. Central and UW Oshkosh as well in the first quarter. 7-6 lead for Oshkosh. 3rd and 5 from the 27 for the Knights. This will be Aguilar feeding Kren.
Just short, looks like.
Just short. That is an accelerated handoff.
I mean, it's fast.
They get down to the line quickly where they're almost making that handoff at the line of scrimmage instead of in the backfield. And they're going to give them the first down. So they move the chains for the first time today.
Well, and what that does, when you get the ball moving downhill like that, you put your runner in a position to be successful, right? I mean, you see him come downhill, and he's already almost to full speed by the time he gets the ball. And so what that does is he's low to the ground, and he just bounces off of tacklers. So he gets hidden yards.
Another quick handoff here to Denoyer will get them a yard. Central just added the extra point, so it's 7-7 in Pella. The Titans and the Dutch. The winner of this game will get the winner of that one between the WIAC champions and the American Rivers Conference champions. 2nd and 8 as they'll give Denoyer 2 yards on the play. Denoyer now with 6 carries for 10 yards. This is Aguilar on the option. Pitches to the outside to Denoyer. And quickly closing in is McCray and Robbie Schwartz. But that'll be a gain of 4 and set up 3rd and 3. First time we've seen them extend that into the option look.
And this is what this is what you want if you're Martin Luther, right? You keep yourself on ahead of the chains. Keep yourself on schedule as an offense, so 3rd and manageable. So they can continue to run their offense and not have to go to the passing game, which is something they haven't shown a lot of success in this season.
This will be a give again to Denoyer, wrapped up by Jake Holliday at the line of scrimmage.
Ball
comes out at the end. I think there was a whistle. Wyatt Lee's going to
Yeah.
pick it up, would have had a touchdown, but the whistle killed the forward progress, and it'll be a loss of half a yard, and will force a punt.
You see on the replay
Knights.
here, he gets the ball going downhill, but then he just runs into a wall. You have Jake Holliday at 6'3", 280 pounds. Speed, size beats speed in that situation.
So Otto to punt for the 3rd time. Matt Tucker will wait from his own 27-yard line. High spiraling kick. Nice release from Otto. Going to drift Tucker all the way back near his 10-yard line. Matthew Tucker looking for the lane. Will get what he can, and he's pushed out of bounds to around the 20-yard line. Good coverage there by the Knights.
That was a bomb.
Yeah.
Really nice looking punt. Spiral end over end, and didn't really give Matthew Tucker a whole lot of time because the coverage team was able to get down there because of the flight of the ball.
Otto's season long is 54 yards. That was a punt of 48 yards. And we have an injured Martin Luther player down around the 38-yard line. Monmouth and UW Whitewater still scoreless in the first quarter. Mary Hardin-Baylor off to a quick 7-0 lead over Redlands. And Mary Hardin-Baylor, for what looks to be the top overall seed in the bracket, a heck of a first-round draw in a very talented Redlands team.
Yeah, that's probably 1A of the best games to watch this week in the opening round. I mean, that's a team that's gone to the national championship a couple times, and then you've got Redlands they score on anybody, and they have a very capable defense, and tough draw for Mary Hardin-Baylor, but somebody's got to play them.
Number 30, Jonah Schlomer, the injured Knight on the play. Luke Amicha also coming off banged up a couple plays ago, but he looks like he's no worse for wear and ready to get back into the action. North Central has added on over Wabash 14-6. And for those who maybe haven't followed this year, they see the lines with North Central and Wabash, and on paper, those are two programs that look like that'd be a pretty good first-round matchup, but this is not the Wabash team you're used to seeing. And this is not a team that's going to seriously threaten North Central and Brock Rudder today.
And you mentioned St. John's and Aurora being tied. I mean, what a turnaround for Aurora that Don Beebe and our very own Jeremiah Cheney, the defensive coordinator, our very own Wheaton grad, Wheaton football alum. But that's a team that they could sting St. John's. They can score on anybody. One of the best offenses in the country.
TJ Williams takes the handoff and buries straight ahead for around 5 yards. And Dan, there we saw the first time that movement pre-snap as they moved the defensive tackle down. And sure enough, Wheaton had the snap as he was in the air. That was the defensive tackle, Abel Bain, trying to shift outside. Couldn't get down to the ground quick enough in a quick 4-yard run. But you'd like to see Wheaton and Jesse Scott maybe get more into that. Get the ball straight into the line where Wheaton can just maul these guys.
I mean, especially when you look at the size difference between the two lines. I mean, you just need to get guys going downhill and run.
Here's TJ Williams, lane to the outside. And
what a hit.
Jack Miller blocked the tackler, Ian Paulson, right into it. TJ Williams had it set up to bounce, and Jack Miller blocks him right into a tackle here. This was primed to go for a big play. And here you're going to see number 82 block Ian Paulson right into him.
Well, just a great, I mean, that right there is the type of play that makes you the 2019 UMAC defensive MVP. I mean, TJ Williams doesn't get hit like that very often. I mean, I know he got squared up with some help from the block, but very good tackle, and he came with some steam and put TJ backwards.
3rd and 2 from the 28-yard line. Luke Anthony looking on the quick hitter to Torini, completed, and that'll move the chain. Simple pitch and catch. Probably a good call there because it settles Luke Anthony down a little bit. We've seen him a little anxious and overthrow some balls that we don't normally see from him.
Well, and he just has a ton of time. I mean, he hasn't had pressure at all. He's remained upright, here through the first quarter. He has the time. He just needs to let the play develop, set his feet, and deliver the ball.
Motion from Stone Watson. He'll take it. This is a pass. There's a forward pitch and a heck of a play by Nate Holtz. That's a forward pass because it's just a forward pitch, and Holtz is the unblocked man, so it's Watson's job to make one man miss. But even if he does, Tristan Ponkow right there as well. Loss of 2. Under 2 minutes to go first half as Terrell Brown checks in. He will split to the left side. 4 wides, 2 by 2. Wheaton leading 10-0, but this offense has given it up twice. Haven't really seen them firing on all cylinders yet. 2nd and 12 from their own 33. Luke Anthony will play fake off of Stone Watson at a diving catch by Phil Nichols just past the chains. That's a good ball from Anthony to protect him from the safeties.
And that's what we're talking about in the pregame, right? Having Nichols back, having a guy like that back. Nice thrown ball, but Phil Nichols goes down and gets it. It has that downward, motion to it, so it heads towards the ground, but Phil Nichols, good job laying out, getting the first down, Mr. Reliable, just as we expected.
TJ Williams takes the handoff running left. Williams trying to get to the corner, and he will be ushered out of bounds at midfield by Ian Paulson, who took a good angle to not let Williams turn the corner.
And you get the feeling after watching TJ run so far that he's still just not quite there. Not quite where he wants to be with his speed and with his cuts. So you hope that improves, and you hope that Wheaton can get up bigger so that he can take a little earlier day, get himself healthy, and not tweak anything this week.
Clock running inside of the last minute of the first quarter. 2nd and 8 from their own 49. This will give TJ up the middle, crosses midfield, and will be brought down at the Martin Luther 48-yard line. And there's a chance that's the last play of the first quarter, as Wheaton could take this to the break if they want to. Heard Coach Swider mention in the Insider that he was approaching 100%, maybe a couple days away. Abel Bain makes the tackle there for the Knights. 3rd and 5. Trips to the right side with Nichols in the slot. Give again to TJ Williams. Cuts inside. Williams makes a nice cut and gets a first down just shy of the 40-yard line.
Yeah, you see it, right? When on runs like that, you see what TJ is capable of, but he just looks like he's a little hesitant yet, right? He looks like he's just not quite the TJ he wants to be. But I mean,
that's a heck of
75 to 80% of TJ is a pretty darn good running back, and we'll take it. But you'd like to see him 100% for the rest of the playoffs.
The other thing is as we've seen throughout the year, TJ is a back that gets better the more he gets the ball, and he's been on load management for the last few weeks. I think this is a good opportunity to continue to feed the beast and let him get comfortable and continue to make cuts and continue to carry so that he gets more and more used to being that 15 to 20 carry back again.
Yeah, he reminds me of many of the Wheaton running backs of old, right? Shola, the most recent, Rocky Ging, Chaz Black, right? Coach Chaz Black. I mean, these are guys that they may struggle to start the game, get things going, but then all of a sudden you look up and it's 6.5 yards a carry for 130 yards, right? It's when they get their touches and when they get going, they always find a way to bust the big one and get the ball moving downhill. Some first quarter stats here really quickly. Martin Luther has 12 carries for 15 yards total. 1 of 4 for 35 yards. Wheaton 12 carries for 56 yards, 19 plays for 116 yards, 50 total yards for Martin Luther in the first quarter. Leading the way, Joshua Kren, 2 carries for 7 total yards, no touchdowns. Stone Watson leading the way with 2 carries for 27 yards for Wheaton.
TJ again off tackle, has a seam, cuts inside 30. We're still carrying tacklers all the way down to the 25-yard line. And worth noting as well, Aurora has just taken a lead up in Collegeville, 14-7 over St. John's.
And that's about as tough a place to win a football game as there is in Division III with that storied program of St. John's. I mean, they pack that place out every week.
How about Jake Hibben getting all the way downfield, pull the center. He gets a pancake at the second level and gets all the way up to the third level.
That kid can maul, and that's the reason why he goes into that fullback set is because of how quick he is for being 275 pounds.
End around fake to Nichols as Williams gets the carry. And I think Jesse's kind of thinking that thing. Get him going. Get TJ Williams used to being the bell cow again, because before he kind of tweaked that ankle, he was a guy that was getting the ball 20-25 times a game and was averaging 130 yards per game on the ground.
Well, and that's the natural tendency of a guy who's missed time or who's been hurt is to be a bit ginger, right? Not trust his injured ankle. But, from everything we've heard is that he's fine. He just has to it's pain management at this point, right? It's not going to get worse. He just has to trust himself. Again, we saw that with Stone after he tore his ACL a few years ago, too. He just needed to lay a pop to someone and realize he could do it again.
Play fake. They've got Nichols on the slant. Touchdown, Thunder.
That is an unbelievable catch from Phil Nichols. I mean, he's got a DB all over his back, and he still elevates to make the catch and bring it down. I mean, the guy catches everything thrown his way. Great to see him in the end zone after all the missed time that he's had. Good to see some celebration from number 11.
Yeah, good to see him back. That's his 7th touchdown catch of the season. And a strong throw from Luke Anthony there. And Griffin Bowe is on to add the extra point. Out of the hold of John Bickle, Philip Barber, the long snapper. Good snap, good hold, good kick. And Wheaton leads this one 17-0 here with just over a minute into the second quarter. But that's more the drive we expected to see from this offense. Get downhill runs, let your offensive line go to work, let TJ Williams continue to get the ball into the teeth of the defense and just hammer away. That's the pound the rock offense. Absolutely.
I mean, that's the identity of Wheaton right there is just, run the ball, throw the ball, just get it going, nice, well-balanced machine. But, the natural tendency, again, is to play down to the level of your opponent. But this is the playoffs, man. You got to get yourself going. You got to get your offense going. Your defense continues to roll. But when you play down to the level of your opponent, you don't put points on the board like you should. When you're the number 1 seed, all you hear about the team coming to your doorstep is, they won their conference, but it's not as good a conference as ours, and all those are excuses and ways that you play down. So Wheaton just needs to realize, you are a far better team, far faster, more physical. You just need to get the job done and do what you're supposed to do to win the game.
Whitewater 14-0 over Monmouth at the end of the first quarter. Wabash adds a field goal over in Naperville, 14-9 the lead for North Central over the Little Giants of Wabash College. High end over end kick, and both of them are calling for a fair catch, and it's fumbled in the end zone, but I think the ball came out, and they're going to have to bring it out. And a huge hit late at the 10-yard line.
That's just another blown assignment in the kick return game for Martin Luther as the player gets up hurt now.
That's Josh Wardell who took that's Bayman who has made a couple mistakes already. Took a hard shot down around the knees. And again, they're going to have to sort this out because they called for the fair catch and then fumbled the ball out of the end zone. And I think you've got to pick it up and advance it at that point.
You do.
The officials are conferring, and I think we'll get an announcement here of what the call is, but they're going to.
It may be down where he fair caught it.
Recovered at the 1 yard line. It will be first down at the 1 yard line.
That's
Martin Luther.
That is just so Martin Luther fair caught the ball and didn't catch it because they ran into each other. So because they fair caught it on a kickoff and dropped it, they start with the ball on their own 1 yard line.
Wow.
So third blown assignment for the kick return team, starting in your own end zone now with this offense that does a lot of movement in the backfield. This is a big problem for them.
Yeah, let's see if C.J. Nightingale really dials it up here. Play fake. Aguilar's looking to pass out of his own end zone, down the sideline, rolling down the coverage. There is contact and no call. They're trying to go one-on-one. All of these routes are really 2 or 3 man routes. They're just trying to go one-on-one against the Thunder corners. And outside of Schwartz getting turned around, Wheaton's had good coverage.
I mean, good job by the offensive line to block that up, too. I mean, they
have protected well in the pass game so far.
They have done a very good job, but you know that Wheaton's D-line had their ears pinned back on that one or going downhill, and they're going to do it again.
You wonder if the assignment aspect of this defense today is slowing down. And Dallas McCray.
Ball's out.
It's a quarterback who pulled it out away from Denoyer because McCray crashed hard on the first fake. And Aguilar going to pick up maybe 2. Gives him a little bit of room to work. Out to the 3 yard line, but boy, it looked like Dallas McCray had the first big disruptive play there.
I mean, it's such a deceitful offense, right? When you look at that, I mean, from up here, it looked like Dallas McCray had tackled the ball carrier and stripped the ball. But sure enough, the quarterback has it, leaks out, and gets 2 yards, giving them just like the tiniest little bit of breathing room. But you expect them, most teams would be passing on this play, but I don't think Martin Luther has any faith in their passing game at this point.
And they will just give this one up across the 5-yard line to Denoyer. Take your medicine, get enough room for the punt operation to operate, and bring out Micah Otto, who's been pretty good.
It's going to be very, very close to this being a full punt operation, as Doug talks about. I mean, he's going to be about 1.5 yards to 2 yards standing at the high end of the H in Wheaton in their own end zone, so very, very difficult. I expect Wheaton to just get a return on this one. No need to go after it, get a penalty. Not a good kick.
Otto with a shank that rolls out of bounds before the 35-yard line. Actually, they'll mark it at the 37. So had a good release on his first 3, but that one comes out wobbly, and Wheaton will have a very short field after just going down for a touchdown.
Really good job, again, by Wheaton's defense just not to give up chunk plays to this offense. I mean, again, that is the tendency of this offense is they just keep going, run things in the backfield to try to get players off their game and get people in the backfield. But really good job of Wheaton just limiting to 2 to 3 to 4 yard carries and getting stops in big moments.
1st and 10 from the Knight 37. Play fake. They're looking to take a shot. Nichols with a step. Ball gets thrown behind him, and he makes the adjustment. Touchdown, Thunder. What an adjustment by Phil Nichols.
The guy just makes every catch thrown his way. I mean, that ball was not very well thrown by Luke Anthony, but Phil Nichols makes an adjustment, makes another diving play into the end zone for a touchdown. His 2nd of the day, and having that guy back, he's absolutely full go. You can tell just the way the hop in his step, he's back. And what a play on the 2nd consecutive drive for him to get into the end zone.
So Bo's on for the extra point, and that one is true. Back-to-back plays, back-to-back touchdown passes from Luke Anthony to Philip Nichols, and now this offense starting to hit its groove with a 24-0 lead over Martin Luther.
So look at the adjustment on this replay here where Nichols realizes it's thrown over to the other shoulder, extends with the ball, catches it at its height, and just comes down with it in the end zone. Man, good to have him back.
Watching that replay, I'm not so sure Anthony doesn't lead him away from the safety running on the inside with that throw, because he had the free safety there running inside of him. That's a linebacker. That's C.J. Fury running with him on the inside, and he just takes the throw away from him.
Yeah, it looks like Nichols had to make an adjustment to a poorly thrown ball by Anthony, but I agree, Rusty. It looks like Anthony led him away from the defender, and Nichols was able to separate and make the play.
St. John's has tied things at 14 early in the 2nd quarter up in Collegeville. Jackson Erdman with a touchdown pass. And we'll check in after this kickoff with Cassidy down on the sideline, but Griffin Bowes has it teed up. Again, not a whole lot of wind to speak of. What wind there is at the back of Griffin Bowes as he lines this kick up. High end over end kick. Now we get a fair catch called for, and it's made by Hodel. So the ball will come out to the 25. We'll send things down to the sideline. Cassidy Thornburg. Cassidy, what's going on down there on the Wheaton sideline?
Yes, Rusty,
Fair
2
catch.
things for you
Ball will be
that just
placed at the
speaks to how this
25-yard
program
line.
is about so much more than football. Philip Nichols running off the field after that incredible play, pointing upwards, as well as Stone Watson and Terrell Williams praying together before a play. So it just speaks to how much these guys' faith means to them in the game of football.
Thanks, Cassidy. As we look around, North Central has added on already. Ethan Greenfield was his 3rd touchdown run of the 1st quarter with North Central 21-9 over Wabash. As this is Denoyer on the 1st down carry. Gets the ball up to the 30 on a 5-yard play. Again, we mentioned St. John's just tying things against Aurora. Oshkosh has taken the lead in Pella 14-7 early in the 2nd quarter, as that game will feed into this one for the 2nd round matchup. The Titans champions of the WIAC after knocking off Whitewater last week, and Central champions of the ARC after beating Wartburg a couple of weeks ago. 2nd and 5 from the 30. Twin backs in the backfield, and now a check to the sideline. Just one wide receiver on the play. It's Benjamin Hodel. This will be a give to Denoyer, and Denoyer had a window, and he stretches that near the 35-yard line. He's going to be just about a yard shy of that first down. But that's been their most successful run play. It's been that quick off-tackle look, getting that first back up to the line of scrimmage and then making that handoff.
Again, if you see the replay again on that one, Dallas may have made that play if he had come downfield, but he gets himself too far upfield and trying to be just a little too disruptive. So assignment football there would be get through the gap and run straight downhill at the running back.
3rd and a yard. Aguilar with, I'm not sure what that was.
Not a great play call.
It looked like they were showing an option run to the near side on a reverse quarterback pivot. He just pins the running back then to Neuer. Nowhere to go.
Are they going for it?
I believe so. What? Why not? You're down 24. Only 4th and a yard. Take your best play. Like the call here from Coach Stein of the Knights. Give us to Denoyer, and he's got it. Again, those quick hitters going into the line have got them a yard or two each time, and they get just enough that time to cross the 35-yard line with Austin Denoyer.
Well, even if you get hit at the line of scrimmage, like we mentioned, the running back is coming downhill and receiving the ball almost at full speed, or accelerating, definitely. He's not coming from a stop and getting the ball like a lot of the options do from the gun.
So we first attempt at 36, 10 minutes left first half. This gave this to Kren trying to bounce, and there's just nowhere to go. He will finally just tuck his head down and get maybe half a yard. Good game going out east. Western New England leading Brockport 14-12 early in the second half. Bridgewater with a 16-7 lead over Delaware Valley. And Huntingdon has retaken the lead 19-7 over Barry in what looks to be maybe the best game of the first round so far. Look at that, a lot of these first-round games, there wasn't a whole lot of intrigue to them, but that was one of them with Huntingdon and Barry. 2nd and 9 from the 37-yard line. Aguilar in the backfield with Austin Denoyer. 2 wide receivers, 1 to each side. Denoyer moves to the left side. This is a give to Denoyer out across the 40, and McCray will ride him down up to the 42-yard line. 3rd and 3 coming up for Martin Luther.
Martin Luther moving the ball a little bit on Wheaton here. That's their most successful run play, as you mentioned, Russ. You just get Denoyer running downhill, and he's slippery.
14 carries, 26 yards for Austin Denoyer. Aguilar 1 of 5. He can hit his first pass for 35 yards. He's missed his last 4. Give this to Kren, and Kren is going to have first down. He's going to roll out of the tackle of Ryan Schwartz across the 46-yard line. So Martin Luther seems to have found a little bit of something here. They're at least able to move the chains a couple times, but it's this off-tackle action that's been their most successful look of the day.
Well, and I'm impressed with Martin Luther's offensive line play. I mean, they're handling this very, very, very good defensive line for Wheaton, and they're just. I mean, you typically see Holiday and Dallas and O'Connell and River Schindlerk are making big plays.
What a play by
Corey Kennedy on cue.
Kennedy, the bounce contained man, and Denoyer tried to bounce that, and Kennedy was right there waiting.
Kennedy is just like, you see him come into the screen here, he's just a missile.
Yeah, that's a missed assignment by Micah Jarvis, the wide receiver, who you saw him run right past Kennedy. That's Jarvis's guy to block. If he can, Denoyer's got room to bounce. Instead, it's a loss of 2, and it's 2nd and 12. As Ben Hodel comes into the game, and he will split out to the right side. Matt Stein tight right outside of Andrew Ozarzik as they go double tights with the single wide receiver. Play fake, Aguilar on the quick tight end pop pass, and that is incomplete. Broken up by Kennedy, and Kennedy's on the receiving end of that collision.
Uh-oh.
And Kennedy's slow to get up, as is Wheaton's got 2 guys shaken up on that play. That looks like Ryan Schwartz.
Injury timeout.
It looked like Ryan Schwartz might have gotten knocked out there.
Schwartz flat on his back around midfield as we will take this break to look at the other first-round games in progress. It does look like Kennedy's feeling a little better as he continues to walk that off, but the concern lies with the Wheaton middle linebacker Ryan Schwartz. Mary Hardin Baylor leads Redlands 14-0 at the end of the first quarter down in Belton. 14 all, up in Collegeville, Aurora, and St. John's. Central trailing Oshkosh 14-7. Monmouth trailing Whitewater 14-0. It's North Central 21-9 over Wabash. Bridgewater 16-10 over Delaware Valley. Case Western's lead has been cut into 21-10 now, their lead over Union. Wesley 20-7 over Framingham State, even though it appears that game has not updated in quite a while. Muhlenberg 21-0 over MIT. Wartburg 27-3 over Hope. Huntingdon 20-17 over Berry. Mount Union still at halftime 41-7 over Hanover, and Salisbury 63-0 over SUNY Maritime. And Ryan Schwartz is up and on his feet with a whole lot of support. Quite a collision around that tight end pop pass. Matt Stein, the tight end, looked like he got the least of that.
Yeah, I think that looked like friendly fire, but it looks good to see Ryan Schwartz walking off the field under his own accord. It's always scary when you see. I mean, it looked like he went limp. I mean, it looked like he might have been knocked out cold for a second there. And the players around him were very concerned, but it's good to see him coming out. They're going to take his helmet away. It's under the table. He's probably done for the day with concussion protocol. They're checking out his eyes now. I mean, that's a scary thing, but it's good to see him walking out.
Yeah, and so Fielding Davis will take over at middle linebacker for the Thunder. The pass was incomplete, so it's 3rd and 12 for the Knights. Pitch sweep to Joshua Kren, broken tackle by Fielding Davis. Kren going to get past the original line of scrimmage and be rode down by Spencer Rowland just shy of midfield, leaving 7 yards for the Knights to pick up. We'll see what they choose to do. They've gone for it on 4th down already, but it doesn't look like they're going to do it again.
Yeah, just not a great play by Fielding Davis there. He should have attacked the upfield shoulder of the running back, keep him contained, and make him cut back inside. But because he didn't, Kren was able to make a bigger gain than should have.
Yeah, I think Fielding Davis just anxious to make a play. And
just wanted to make a big play.
First snap out there.
Yep.
So Otto to punt after he shanked the last one. And now almost blocked by Nate Gers, and Tucker trying to cover that thing up, trying to make a sliding catch, but he's able to smother it and recover the mistake at the 25-yard line, and that's where maybe the inexperience back there, that's one, if you can't catch it on your feet, I'm not sure you want to try a sliding catch there. Caleb Grodelushin also there trying to help Tucker shield that football, but Wheaton already with 2 turnovers, and because you can't fumble it forward, the ball's going to be marked where the initial point of contact with Tucker was, back at the 18-yard line. I think the officials are conferring where this ball is going to be placed. Mike Swider seems to be happy with the explanation.
During the kick, holding, receiving team number 13. Half the distance to the goal. 1st down.
So it'll be marked back even further after a holding penalty against Caleb Egbert.
Yeah, and then all the commotion of the dropped kick on the slide. I didn't even see a flag come out.
Wheaton's one of the most penalized teams in the country. That's their first penalty so far today, and it comes with 6:55 left in the first half.
Well, they've played a lot cleaner in the last several weeks as well. So to be the most penalized team in the country after having, a handful of them in the last couple of games, that's really good to see. I mean, playing clean football is very important. You just can't give yards away via the penalty. When your defense is so good at keeping yards and points off the board, you just can't give them back by being penalized.
The yardage in that Carroll game is a little deceptive because there was a 60-yard holding penalty on a kickoff. Play fake, thrown into the flat for Stone Watson. Watson with room to run, and he's going to bring the ball out across the 20. We saw that look against North Central. Just get the running back quickly out into the flat, pin the outside linebacker where they can't catch up. Easy pitch and catch and yards there for Stone Watson. Watson's lined up almost as an H-back there just outside Paulina. And 4 wide receivers with Watson as the H-back again. TJ Williams is in the slot left here. 1st and 10 from the 21. Empty backfield for Anthony. He's protected against 4. Quick hitter for Torini. Low throw makes the catch at the 25-yard line. Gain of 4.
I like to see these quick hitters. It gets Luke Anthony back on his rhythm. I mean, he's had a nice game so far, but appeared to be a little bit inaccurate. So to get him some of these precision passes is good. Get him some extra reps, presumably heading into next week.
Nice play by Dan Arndt to make the tackle. Give to TJ Williams on second down. Williams tries to turn the corner. Ben Riegsecker was there pursuing from the linebacker spot. He does a nice job stringing that run all the way out. And this will be 3rd and long here for Wheaton. Riegsecker finds a lane and takes away the cutback as well. That's Jacob Schmidt, the defensive end, all the way out there to make that tackle.
3rd and 7 at the 24.
Trips left for Wheaton on 3rd and 7. Too high, cover 2 look for Martin Luther. 4-man rush for the Knights. Anthony with time finds Tarini. And if Tarini can find room to get out of this pickle, he could go, but he will not. He's well corralled there by Paulson and Riegsecker. But that's a well-delivered ball from Anthony into a tight window to move the chains.
Really nice ball, and Tarini, like you mentioned, if he finds any space, he's one of the fastest guys in the conference. But just look at him. He catches the ball on the 35-yard line. First contact is made at the 45, and he drags for another 10. I mean, he's got 4 guys on him to finally take him down.
That was Ian Paulson who finally made the tackle at the 45-yard line. Play fake, throwing the swing route to Nichols. Boy, that was close to being, had a chance to be picked by Arndt, and Carson Lean does just enough to get him out of the picture, but I think Anthony led him into a little too much trouble there.
Very, very close. I mean, he jumps this route, threw it up a little bit too high.
And Carson Lean does just enough
Just
there.
enough. Really, I mean, good job by Carson Lean, a senior. You know, hasn't gotten as many catches as he would like, but he's involved in the blocking game, and just a really nice job by number 5.
Motion from Phil Nichols right to left, 2 by 1, the wide out, 2nd and 2. Pitch to the left side for TJ Williams behind Jake Hibben. TJ Williams barreling down inside the 30 as he delivers a hit to Tristan Pankow.
Well, and Abel Bain, number 92, 6'1", 235 pounds, and he gets knocked backwards. As you see at the end of this play, TJ just lays the wood and shoves him down.
Williams now with 12 carries for 46 yards. Sam Singleton into the backfield for the first time today with a trip set to the right side of Luke Anthony under center. Singleton takes the cut, takes the carry, cuts it back, trying to get to the 25-yard line, not going to get there. Wrapped up by a host of Knights, led by Dan Gensmer. Correction, that is Abel Bain who made that tackle, wrapping him up. Credit Gensmer with the HOP there at the end. 2nd and 6 at the 26. Wheaton really taking their time here. 3 minutes already down on this drive. 3:20 left in the first half. Play fake for Luke Anthony. Pump fake. Now he's going to try to run. And a nice play made. By that time it is Gensmer. He grabs the ankles and doesn't let him escape the pocket. Just 4 go routes trying to get somebody into a seam. Wasn't there, and Anthony wisely tucks it. And it'll be 3rd and 5 from the 25 as we reach 3 minutes left here in the second quarter. Trips right, Nichols, Tarini, and Lean. Terrell Brown into the game, split to the left side. Press coverage from Dan Arndt. Luke Anthony will give to Stone Watson. Watson has the first down, barreling through a tackle inside the 20, and he will get down to the 18-yard line, moving the chains for the Thunder. So Jesse Scott really trusting his offense here and letting his offensive line work.
We like to see Stone delivering a blow at the end of a play, too. Really good job just to keep the ball moving forward, you know, and at first contact not get stuck backwards.
Ball down to the 18-yard line, double tight look for the Thunder, and this will be Stone Watson. Off tackle, has a hole. Watson going to be wrapped up, driving inside the 15 down to the 14. Riegsecker makes the tackle.
Stop by number 45, Riegsecker.
Stone Watson now with 4 carries for about 39 yards. TJ Williams back into the game. Williams has 12 carries for 46 yards. Trips left, split right is Terrell Brown. Play fake off of Williams. Luke Anthony looking to go to Terrell Brown on the fade. He had a nice throw to fit it into the window, but Brown couldn't quite bring it in.
Intended for number 15, Terrell Brown.
Yeah, really nice throw by Luke Anthony.
Third down.
Not a whole lot of room there, and Terrell Brown with enough speed, you can't really float that thing up there. And Brown just couldn't quite bring it in. Brown had a 50-yard catch and run last week against Elmhurst for a touchdown. Third and 5, back to pass Anthony. He's going to hit Tarini on the slant, and Tarini had to slide down to one knee to make that catch. So he's going to be down at the 4-yard line right where he caught the football. And McJunkin comes into the game along with Caleb Brink, who's going to split out right. Now they're going to bring him left. Brink's a fade candidate. He's a big dude. 6'5", split to the left side, working against Dan Arndt at 6 foot. Anthony drops under center, 1:15 left in the half. Wheaton taking their time. McJunkin lined up almost as the fullback in this formation. Pitch sweep to TJ Williams to the right side. Finds the lane. TJ Williams, knee goes down at the 1-yard line before he can stretch that ball out. A little upset with himself that he couldn't finish that one. CJ Fury makes the tackle for the Knights. Nice job fighting off that block from Michael Gale to get in there and make the tackle. 2nd and goal from the 1. This drive has been 6 minutes for the Thunder. There's only 35 seconds left in the half. Anthony under center. Gives to TJ Williams. He can pick his lane into the end zone. Touchdown Thunder. Heck of a drive to close the half there for Wheaton.
Yeah, just totally dominant on that drive. I mean, they just kept picking up first downs. Great play calling by Coach Jesse Scott. Really nice balance, pass run. I mean, just Martin Luther had no idea what was coming. And just a really quality drive to end the half on the last drive for Wheaton. 31 to, impending kick, but 31-0 in the first half is a great start.
And Bowes pounds this one through. 14 carries, 50 yards for TJ Williams.
31 points with including 2 turnovers. Pretty nice job by Wheaton to put points on the board.
Yeah, after that first quarter was pretty shaky from the Wheaton offense, the offense has found its stride in the second quarter. 14-play, 6-minute drive for the Thunder. That's big boy football closing the first half. Wheaton's run 37 plays in the first half for 285 yards. Martin Luther with 29 plays for 80 yards. The Knights entered this game 2nd in the country in rushing offense. They've got 23 carries for 45 of those 80 yards. And again, all 35 of their passing yards came on the first play. That's a 91-yard, 14-play, 6-minute drive for the Thunder, leaving only 31 seconds left in the first half. Bo is going to pound this thing deep and into the end zone.
And the same little pitching wedge flop there as the ball just dies when it hits the way that he kicks the ball.
Odell just watched that one sail over his head, and we'll see what Martin Luther chooses to do.
Please put 40 seconds. Run the play clock.
They do have 2 timeouts left, but Aguilar just 1 for 6 in the passing game. He sits in the backfield with both backs split to either hip from their own 25. First down give is to Joshua Kren, and Kren finds a seam. There wasn't much there, but he squirts through at the very end to get out to the 29-yard line.
I'm telling you, they're so low to the ground when they receive the ball that he just kind of gets himself moving forward, squares his shoulders up at the line of scrimmage, and falls down forward.
Yeah, I think Martin Luther is going to choose to take this to the break. No urgency here from the Knights as the final seconds tick down in the first half. Wheaton with a couple turnovers early, but they've cleaned it up since. 21 unanswered there in the second quarter. They lead this one 31-0 at halftime. A lot to like, a lot to clean up for the Thunder here at the halftime break. We will step aside. 31-0 our score. Wheaton leading Martin Luther. We'll come back on the backside of the break, give you a look at the first half stats, and look ahead to the second half as well as a trip around the country to see what's going on in the other first-round matchups. You're watching NCAA Playoff Football on the Wheaton Thunder Sports Network.
I just wanted to get good grades and to do well. But it also made me realize that I have a lot of career goals.
You're there to get a full college experience, not only participate in your sport, but participate in things outside of that, and it's all about growing as a person.
My coaches have helped me with figuring out who I really am. Their lives are dedicated for us to succeed.
Being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make a change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school, it's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
College has given me the flexibility to pursue my passions and my interests, and I've recreated my identity for myself aside from just being an athlete.
My greatest personal discovery has been that I am capable of doing things that I didn't know I was capable of doing.
To be able to study what I wanted to and continue to play the sport I love, all of those things came together very nicely in one package in Division III.
One word I'd use to describe my Wheaton experience is purposeful. And I say purposeful because through people and experiences here, the Lord has been teaching me to reorient my desires and aspirations for work in His kingdom.
Flourishing. I chose the word flourishing because of the specific leadership and mentorship opportunities I've experienced at Wheaton, and how they've allowed me not only to grow here, but given me the confidence to navigate life after Wheaton.
Winning. I chose the word winning because I feel like all my friends and professors have encouraged me to have a winning mindset.
Full. I chose the word full because my Wheaton College experience has been full of mentorship and friendship here, and I've been left with intergenerational friendship that I'm going to take with me for the rest of my life.
Transformative. The reason why I chose the word transformative is because of all the ways I've been influenced by my professors, my peers, and my friends at my time at Wheaton.
Rooted. The reason I chose the word rooted is because I am leaving Wheaton grounded in both my faith and calling.
Unexpected. The reason I chose this word is because I expected to be challenged by Wheaton's academics, but I wasn't expecting how I would be challenged and grown through Wheaton's athletics, student life, and student engagement.
Deep. I chose the word deep because of the deep relationships I've been able to build with friends and all the people I've been able to meet at Wheaton.
Holistic. I chose that word because Wheaton has taken my education and my vision for my life, and it's expanded it and shaped it physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in every way.
Journey. The reason why I chose Journey is because of the many highs and lows that I've experienced here at Wheaton. These highs and lows are a taste of what life after Wheaton is going to be like, and this is why I love Wheaton.
Welcome back here to McCauley Stadium. Alongside Dan Studebaker, I'm Rusty Lindsay as we get you set for the second half of action. Wheaton leading Martin Luther College 31-0 here in a pretty up and down half for the Thunder. A little sloppy early offensively, a couple of turnovers, but the offense finds its groove there in the second quarter and it pulls away to a 31-0 victory. Dan, take us through the first half stats there.
You bet. 31-0, Wheaton leads Martin Luther College. For Martin Luther, they've run 30 plays for 84 yards. For Wheaton, 37 for 285 yards. Leading the way for Martin Luther rushing, Austin Denoyer has 15 carries for 24 yards for an average of 1.6. Joshua Kren with 5 carries for 16 yards, averaging 3.2. Leading the way for Wheaton, TJ Williams, 14 carries for 50 yards and a score. Stone Watson, 4 carries, 38 yards, 9.5 for him. Ethan Aguilar is 1 of 6 for 35 yards on the big play down the sideline. Luke Anthony, 11 of 15 for 3 touchdowns, 183 yards, 1 interception. Adam Trini leads the way with 5 grabs for 87 yards and a touchdown. Philip Nichols, 5 for 84 and 2 touchdowns. Receiving, Micah Jarvis has the lone grab, 1 catch for 35 yards. Tackles leading the way, Ian Paulson, the player of the year in the UMAC with 7 total tackles, 1 half for loss. Jake Holliday and Dallas McCray both lead the Wheaton Thunder defense with 5 tackles apiece, no tackles for loss for Wheaton.
Yeah, it's in a lot of ways what we expected, but Wheaton kind of took a while to find their bread and butter in this game. There's a lot of little secondary looks before they started going to the power football run game, and just kind of getting TJ Williams going there, like you said, to find the end zone at the end of the game. But he's looked a lot more comfortable going north-south than he has laterally. Doesn't look like he quite has that confidence on the stretch plays, but when they get in between the tackles, he's been very effective. So I think I think the key here is get him a couple of series more of carries, get him up to 20-25 looks here. Even though he's still coming back from injury, you got to get him used to being the bell cow.
Yeah, his cut isn't quite there yet, in my opinion. You know, when he's running laterally, you know, towards the sidelines, he just looks a little bit ginger. But when he squares his shoulder pads up with the line of scrimmage and gets himself going downhill, he looks like the TJ we've come to expect. Wheaton struggled a little bit to start the game, right? They got off to a little bit of a slower start, but to put up 31 points and score on all but 2 of their drives that ended in turnovers, that's a pretty efficient offensive attack once they finally settled in. So very good job. Wheaton's defense is exactly what we expected. You know, they've held Martin Luther Knights to 84 total yards on 30 plays. I mean, that's just just little gains here and there. They've only given up a first down or 2, so it's just a completely dominant defensive side of the ball, which is, it's par for the course for Wheaton, but very good to see Wheaton's offense get going and put up 285 yards in the first half.
A look around the country, and we'll start with what's going on just 7 miles away. North Central leads Wabash 28-12. Brock Rudder doesn't have a touchdown pass. Ethan Greenfield is averaging 12.4 yards per carry. He's got 198 yards rushing on 16 carries. Now, Rudder is 8 for 8 for 110 yards, but this is a very different look to the Cardinal offense, and it's likely because the Little Giants can't stop the run.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that they would like to get going, right? You're not just going to be able to throw all over Mount Union next week. I mean, they're going to have to move the ball on the ground against the Purple Raiders. I mean, you can't expect to be Brock Rudder and stand in the pocket against that defense. I mean, Wheaton got to him 7 times. Elmhurst got to him a handful of times with their defense. So Mount Union, is going to go after Brock Rudder and get him uncomfortable and get his feet chopping. And we've seen him struggle when he has pressure in his face. We've put a couple games on the board here as games that haven't gone final, but you don't see a change coming. One of those being Salisbury up 76-0 over SUNY Maritime in the first round. There's 10 minutes left in that game. We've also put Mount Union on the board, 58-14, no real surprise, over Hanover. That's at the end of the third quarter. We've put Wartburg on the board. They're up 41-3 at Hope with just under 8 minutes left. That was a game that, when the brackets came out, you saw Hope was, that's maybe a game that had some intrigue, that could be one of the few first-round games that could provide some drama. That's been all Wartburg, and they've scored the last 41 points of that game. Yeah, Wartburg's a good football team, and that's a team that vies for their conference championship every single year, and they've got a ton of experience in the playoff, where Hope has been out for the last couple of years. Muhlenberg's on the board, up 38-0 over MIT after the third quarter. Wesley is on the board, up 44-7 over Framingham State after the third quarter. That's at halftime. Case Western led 21-3. Their lead's been cut to 21-16 over Union. That's with 7:20 left. Delaware Valley leads Bridgewater 23-19 with 10 minutes and
That's down to 6 minutes and 46 seconds left. Also one of the better games going on. Western New England 14-12 over Brockport late in the third quarter. Central Time Zone games, Whitewater leading Monmouth 28-0 at halftime. Oshkosh, after a 7-7 tie, has pulled away from Central 31-7. Getting pretty close to putting that on the board and setting up a second-round matchup between the CCIW champs and the WIAC champs. Aurora leads St. John's at halftime, 28-21. They led by 2 scores for a little bit, but Erdman leads the Johnnies down the field late in the half and puts a late score on the board with 30 seconds left. And at halftime, Mary Hardin Baylor, 21-0 over Redlands. One game going on out west that will start at 2 o'clock Central. That's between Linfield and Chapman. That game out at Chapman.
Well, you think about that. You think about the St. John's and Aurora game. I mean, I think pretty much everyone from up north in the MIAC just went ahead and penciled in themselves for the quarterfinal matchup. And that Aurora team is one of the best offenses in the country. I mean, they put up yards on everybody. And leading St. John's, who, you know, the playoff tests that they've been to, they have national championships, right? The best player in college football Division III goes to their old head coach by his name, John Gallardi. And to see them down at halftime and think about the quarterfinal matchup that could be here with Aurora is pretty awesome to think about.
One matchup we missed was Huntington leading Barry 20-17 in the fourth quarter. That was one of the games you look at. You said, all right, that's one we can pencil in, one-score game all the way to the wire, and that game has led up to its billing, 20-7. The Hawks leading the Vikings of Barry as Griffin Bowes pounds the second half kickoff into the end zone for a touchback. Martin Luther will have the ball to start the half, trailing 31-0.
And you wonder what kind of halftime adjustments Martin Luther is going to make. You know, they want to continue running the ball, but they're so far behind right now that they're going to have to get the ball moving through the air, and they have to make bigger gains than they have so far with only 84 yards total.
Aguilar will give to Denoyer on first down. Gamicha comes downhill to make the stop, but that's been their best look. That's been a 2 to 3 yard play for them every time.
Oh, and it's an impressive job, again, by Martin Luther's offensive line against this defensive line for the Thunder. They're probably their best unit overall, but they've done a very good job of, you know, getting the ball moving downfield. I mean, that's a 4-yard clip right there. And Wheaton's making it difficult, but Denoyer is getting 3 to 4 yards every carry.
Wheaton has yet to get a sack, but there's
Stuffed.
a big disruptive play by Jake Holliday.
Just too much.
Holliday met him at the line of scrimmage, drove him back. That'll be 3rd and long here. Wheaton yet to have a sack. We've had just one penalty in this game. It was a holding penalty on a punt return by Wheaton. That's a good sign for one of the most penalized teams in the country. Martin Luther 2 of 9 on 3rd down today. Wheaton 5 of 7. The Knights are 1 for 1 on 4th down against the best 4th down defense in the country. They converted a 4th and 1. Wheaton yet to face a 4th down. 3rd and 7 from the 28 for Aguilar and company. Split backs. Play fake off of Denoyer going on the tight end. Pop pass picked off by Kennedy. And Corey Kennedy's got blockers in front, but he's going to go against the grain, and he's going to be brought down by the tight end Mike Radu at the 23-yard line. He ran into the official, and I think the official stopped Kennedy from having a defensive touchdown there. Wheaton had the convoy set up, and he runs into the official. And Wheaton starts from the Knights' 23-yard line on their first possession of the second half.
Well, and Caden Sigler, Coach Swider, talked about the physicality of him, and he was manned up on that tight end, significantly larger than him, but just bodied him up, played physically, you know, within the rules, and the quarterback just made a terrible decision to throw that ball high into coverage, and Corey Kennedy was there just to snap it out of the air.
1st and 10 for the Thunder. They will give on a misdirection to T.J. Williams. Big seam, and Williams lowers his head and gets all the way down to the 15. Actually, they'll mark his knee down at the 16-yard line.
Good to see T.J. come out of the gate just like that for a big gainer. You know, he's struggled a little bit today to get north and south, as we talked about, but good to see him chunk for 7 yards immediately.
Passing on the slant to Phil Nichols.
Again.
Stop, go, touchdown, Thunder.
Too easy. Great pass by Luke Anthony. Really crisp route by Philip Nichols. Just snatched it and just works his way into the end zone for the 3rd time today. And I just can't express enough, once again, just how amazing that it is to have that guy back. I mean, it isn't a stretch to say he's the best receiver in the CCIW. Failed to get first team because of the missed time. But he's just incredibly productive, just a great football player.
Him and TJ Williams both were probably on schedule for first down, and the extra point is blocked. It came out low by Bose, and Bose is looking at Bickle like something might have been wrong with the hold. Third missed extra point as we see the extra point on the replay on the touchdown. Quick slant. Nichols stops and goes. And an easy walk into the end zone there. But you can't ask for a much better start for the Thunder here in the second half. Get a takeaway, score some quick points, and it's 37-0.
You wonder what will happen here. They've been better on kickoff returns after having a really terrible operation on the first 3 kick returns of the day for Martin Luther. Pretty sure they're just going to go ahead and fair catch the ball, get it on the 25-yard line, and go from there. Because pinning yourself back is not the way you climb back into games where you're down big.
That has really been the prevailing move that we've seen used a lot more often against the Thunder, has been a lot of just fair catches. Because of the hang time that Bose has, you've seen a lot more teams not even bother on the return.
Well, he's the perfect kicker for that unit. You know, Coach Swider takes a deep sense of pride in the kickoff team. I mean, he puts athletes out there, guys that want to run and make tackles in the open field and want to hit somebody.
Here's the kickoff by Bose. Hodel back into the end zone, and he calls for the fair catch.
Now, you have to do that now with the way Bose has shown, the way that he throws that pitching wedge flop down on the ball. You have to catch the ball, or he could land it on the 1-yard line again. He's kicking it right to the goal line. So you just have to catch it and take your medicine and take the ball on the 25, that's some of their best starting position of the day.
We're going to see Corey Kennedy start this drive on the sideline. He was getting looked at after that interception. He got banged up in the collision that knocked Ryan Schwartz out of the game. 1st and 10 from their own 25 for the Knights. Krenn in motion. Play fake. Aguilar back to pass. Well protected going on a slant. He's got Joshua Krenn. It's complete across midfield. Krenn's going to be stood up, and now Wyatt Lee trying to rip that ball off. Only the second completion of the game after 6 incompletions for Aguilar, but they've both been for big chunk plays.
Watch on this replay. You see number 54, Dallas McCray, just getting absolutely mugged.
Wow.
Just held, and the ref swallowed his whistle, didn't make the call, and that's the type of thing that you can't miss that call. Just getting bear hugged.
All the way down to the 35, so completions of 35 and 40 yards for Ethan Aguilar. That'll put the Knights over 100 yards of offense for the day. 1st and 10, low snap, handed to Denoyer, trying to cut it back, and Jake Holliday's right there waiting for him.
River Schindeldecker in there to help as well. Really good play by the defensive line there just to swallow that up at the line of scrimmage for a no gain.
Low snap, I think, affected the timing of that play, which is why Denoyer tried to cut it back. Good contingent of fans have made their way down from New Ulm, Minnesota to watch the Knights, their second playoff appearance in program history. Wheaton in a hurry to get set here. His motion comes from Denoyer. Left to right, sets up trips. This is going to be a keeper for Aguilar. Nice block on the outside by the wide receiver, Micah Jarvis, and Aguilar gives himself up for little to no gain.
And you wonder with a guy like Micah Jarvis, it's 6'3", 220 pounds, why he isn't more a part of the passing game. And that's just a nasty block on Luka Micha. But a short gainer on it.
Only a yard. The Knights lost 84-7 in last year's first round to St. John's. 3rd and 9 from the 34. Back to passes. Aguilar looking quickly to the right and very wide of Ben Hodel. The UMAC as a conference has never won a first-round playoff game. The closest they have come is a 35-7 loss. I believe that was by Northwestern a few years ago.
Well, you got to love the playoff system for Division III, right? Everybody does have an opportunity, which I think is a little unfortunate when you see the big disparity in the power and in the play of conferences like the CCIW. Well, and the UMAC matching
especially
up.
When you see a team like SUNY Maritime in at 5-5.
And getting blown out.
Getting close to having 100 points put on them in the first round. They're going to go for it on 4th and 9 from the Wheaton 34. Aguilar looking to his right, and it is well wide of Josh Wardell. So a turnover on downs for Martin Luther.
But just to continue that point, I mean, Division III playoffs are great because you do have a big field, anyone can win, but you don't start to see these ugly scores in the second and third rounds. Mount Union will hang ugly numbers on people, weekly, but that's just because of who they are. But you start to see the competitive nature of the games and the parity between the teams start to narrow.
A lot of games tightening up out east, so we'll take you around real quick after this first down play. See him Singleton in the backfield with Luke Anthony on 1st and 10 from their own 34-yard line. Seeing Matt Tucker in the slot to the left side. And they will give on the misdirection to Singleton. Singleton hit at the line.
Stood up
for a 2-yard gain. Brockport leads Western New England 26-21. Case Western had a 21-3 lead. They now trail Union 24-21. Delaware Valley has pulled away from Bridgewater with 4 minutes left, 30-19. Barry has scored inside the last 5 minutes to take a 24-20 lead. North Central still leading Wabash 28-12 over in Naperville, just about to start the second half. 2nd and 7, and this whistle's blow and a timeout taken by the Thunder.
Timeout, Wheaton. That's their first timeout of the half.
First time out of the game. Other scores within this bracket: Oshkosh leads Central 31-7. Aurora leads St. John's 28-21. Mary Hardin-Baylor has not got out of halftime yet with Redlands. That's a 21-0 score. Whitewater and Monmouth 28-0 in favor of the Warhawks. Going to the final quarter, Wesley over Framingham State 58-7. Muhlenberg late 38-0 over MIT. Game has gone final. 2 of them have gone final. Wartburg 41-3 over Hope, and Salisbury 83-0 over SUNY Maritime. Whitewater leading Hanover 65-14 with just over 10 minutes left in that game. So we're yet to get a full second round matchup figured out yet. 2nd and 7 from the 37 for the Thunder. Anthony out of the gun with Stone Watson in the backfield. Give is to Watson, and a nice play made again by Nate Holtz. That's twice that he has got to Stone Watson in the backfield. Holtz unblocked. And a loss of 7, so it'll be 3rd and 14.
Looking at the statistics for that Salisbury and SUNY Maritime game, SUNY Maritime has run 47 plays for 71 total yards. Salisbury 64 for 583 yards.
That's another triple option offense for the Seagulls, as well as SUNY Maritime. 3rd and 14, going to drop it off underneath to Matthew Tucker, and Tucker will barely get a yard.
And Wheaton will punt for the first time today.
Yeah, Luke Anthony never really seemed to take the eyes down the field, trying to find his way to Tucker, who is running with the trailing linebacker, Tristan Pankau. If there has been a concern for Wheaton as it's come down to the stretch, it has been the running game since the injury to T.J. Williams. Just hasn't had the same explosive nature as it did beforehand, even though you've got some talented running backs back there with Stone and Watson. Bickle's punt going to be fair caught at the 18-yard line. Get the 17 by Hodel.
We talk about his ability to pin the ball within the 10-yard line, but he's got a big leg too. Big leg.
That's a punt of 52 yards. His 7th punt of the year of over 50.
52 yards and fair caught.
Yeah, Coach.
So that thing was going to go.
Coach Swider saying after I sat down with him in the Insider, that's the best punter he's ever had. And it's really a shame that he never really came into the conversation for the all-CCIW punter, because there's only one. It went to Johnny Davidson, and that's because they only look at distance numbers. And Bickle's strength has lied in placement. 9 punts, pinning opponents inside their own 5-yard line. Misdirection, give to Denoyer, coming back to the near side, breaks out of a hand tackle by Braden Anthony, and he will get his way out to the 25-yard line, give him the 24. Gain of 6 on first down.
It's a good play here by Jake Holliday. Separates from the block, comes downhill, makes the tackle after a gain of 6 yards, but really good job by the big man to pursue.
Ball to 24 for the Knights. And this will be Denoyer again. And Denoyer gets low and gets a first down before Fielding Davis can make the tackle. That's really the strength of the run game. They get so low when they take the handoff into the line of scrimmage. Now with 30 carries for 63 yards for an offense that comes in averaging over 330 rushing yards per game. They are second in the country in that category.
Something to note, Corey Kennedy is not on the field right now. So you wonder if that's him just getting rest or if he got banged up a little bit. And
give this to Kren on the first down carry. He was getting looked at on the sidelines after the interception.
He's got his helmet on down there and he's walking the sideline. So this may be just the coach's decision to keep him healthy for next week. He's had a couple big hits today.
Yeah, he was just as much a part of that collision as Ryan Schwartz, and Schwartz was knocked out of the game for it. 2nd and 6 from the 33 here for the Knights. Aguilar with both backs in the backfield. This is a keeper, and Wyatt Lee does a great job standing pat, and he will force the keep, and he gets the ball out across the 35 to the 36-yard line. Starting to see Wheaton work in some twos here. Grant Miller in on the defensive front, Braden Anthony in there. So Pat O'Connell getting a little bit of a breather, Jake Holliday getting a breather.
Yeah, and something to note, too, in the NCAA playoffs, your playoff roster shrinks significantly. So you see the twos, and that's it. You won't see threes and fours like you would at a typical home game.
Yeah, only 58 dressed. As Schindeldecker makes a nice tackle here on Denoyer. And a favorable spot on the near side is going to give him all the way to the 38-yard line. And
well, the far side had 2 yards ahead.
And the line judge is saying it's a first down.
Whoa.
Wow.
He looked like he was a yard short.
And
the crowd's going nuts.
You're hearing it because the players that aren't dressed for Wheaton are right on that first down line, and
that's not a good call.
No. This is Denoyer again on the first down carry. Breaks the 40, breaks out of a tackle. Best running play of the game for the Knights. He's going to cross midfield and carry tacklers. Wheaton's too busy trying to strip the ball out to knock him down, and he's going to carry to the 44-yard line of Wheaton.
Yeah, and Denoyer, again, the first team. He was first team all UMAC offensive MVP, and you can see why I like his running style. I mean, the guy never stops his feet from moving. Constant chopping of the feet, carrying bodies with him. I mean, it took them an extra there's 8 guys from Wheaton in there making the tackle, trying to strip the ball out. But he just keeps his feet chopping and keeps moving down the field.
Well, that's a body you're not used to seeing in the UMAC. That's a CCIW-sized running back, 6 foot 195. Strong running junior out of Lake Mills, Wisconsin. Give this time to Joshua Kren, and Kren's got a crease, and Roland's chasing him, and he's going to score. Joshua Kren breaks free off tackle. That's been the moneymaker for Martin Luther today. And they break the shutout with 5:57 left in the third quarter as the UMAC offensive MVP breaks free for 44 yards. Micah Otto on for the extra point. He's 32 of 38 this season. They get 33 of 39. Heck of a blocking job up front there by the Knights to open a seam for Kren. And you can see once he gets into space, got good speed. That's also a poorly disciplined play by Luke Gamicha, who had his head looking outside where there was nobody, and Kren just ran right inside of him.
Braden Anthony got sealed off by the tackle, and Luke Gamicha came up and just didn't have good technique and just got run right by to the end zone.
Joshua Kren, the 5'11", 195-pound junior, from Waukesha, finds the end zone for the 14th time this year. 37-7 our score with 5:57 left in the third quarter. Puts Martin Luther over 100 yards rushing on the day. Wheaton's run 42 plays for 305 yards. The Knights 45 plays for 210 yards.
That'll, I think, be the best offensive output against Wheaton since the North Central game. 210 total yards.
Otto with the left foot will go out of bounds. Out of bounds for the 8th time on the season. for Micah Otto. Yeah, we'd have to look, but I think maybe Wash U would have the potential to have some more yards just because they left their ones in against the Wheaton 3s and 4s late into that
Free
game.
kick out of bounds. Kicking team number 10. Ball will be placed at the 35-yard line, first down.
Quick update, Central is down inside the 10-yard line trying to rally from a 31-7 deficit against Oshkosh. About second half about to start. Looks like it's just underway in Collegeville. Aurora 28 and St. John's 21. Give us to TJ Williams. Williams breaks out of a tackle, and he's going to get 2 yards after he was stopped in the backfield. 30 seconds into the second half, and Aurora's got the ball inside the St. John's 10-yard line. And Aurora once again takes a 2-score lead over St. John's just 40 seconds into the second half.
That would be a monster upset. I mean, that's a team in Aurora that was, brand new head coach, a whole new regime over there, and they've got St. John's on the ropes.
Luke Anthony on play action. He's going to deep looking for Tarini. Tarini makes the catch and drops it. He had it in his hands, couldn't bring it in. Good coverage, trailing by Joe Harrowig. Well protected.
Just floated a little bit too long for Tarini to be able to make that because the second DB was able to converge on that and make the hit. Just floated a little bit too long. You see him come in right here and lay a hit, jarring the ball loose.
That's Joe Harrowig, the all-conference safety. In coverage, 3rd and 9 from the 36. Two wide receivers, right and left, as Anthony faces a 4-man rush. Well protected, has Carson Lean wide open, and Carson Lean will streak across the Martin Luther 40 down to the 38-yard line.
I mean, wide open right there in the middle of the field. Great job by Carson Lean. I mean, there's nobody within 10 yards of him.
Yeah, there's Tucker's inside running a clear-out route, and
just wide open.
Carson Lean just bends underneath. They take the safeties deep and just drag him right underneath. 1st and 10 down to the 38-yard line. Anthony has been clean with the football since the interception on Wheaton's first drive of the game. He did have the fumbled exchange, but he has taken care of it through the air. Looking to the right, quick hitter to Matt Tucker, complete. And Ian Paulson makes the tackle for a gain of 6. Second half underway over in Naperville as Wabash starts the half with a field goal to pull within 28-15. Again, Brock Rudder does not have a touchdown pass yet in that game, but they have forced Wabash for field goals. 2nd and 5 from the 33. Play fake off Sam Singleton. He's got Carson Lean going up the rail. Man-on-man coverage against Dan Arndt, and that is incomplete at the 4-yard line. That's one where Lean's got to step. You got to lead him to the end zone.
Yeah, he was wide open into the end zone, but it didn't look all that clean to me. It looked like Lean may have been interfered with, but these refs are not going to call anything.
Union rallies from a 21-3 deficit to beat Case Western 24-21.
That's a bad beat for Case Western.
Back to pass, and it's too high in and out of the hands of Terrell Brown. And Wheaton's going to keep the offense on the field here. 4th and 5, ball's on the Martin Luther 33. It's a 50-yard field goal from here. Your offense has been struggling. Just really has not been clean today. 4th and 5 from the 33. Stone Watson into the game. Fourth and 5 from the 33. Anthony has time and completes the pass to, I believe that's Tarini, wrapped up. Nope, that's Carson Lean, wrapped up immediately by Ben Arndt, but it's enough for a first down to the 25-yard line. Well-designed play there just to get what they need and move the chains. So that's our first full second-round matchup. It'll be Salisbury hosting Union in a matchup of undefeated teams in the second round out east. Time has run out on Bridgewater. Delaware Valley holds off Bridgewater 30-22. First and 10 from the 25 for Anthony. He's got Caleb Brink, and it would have been a touchdown, but he threw it behind him.
And just needs to deliver that ball with more heat on it. You know, Caleb Brink's wide open there. You just need to drill that ball into him, and he's into the end zone for an easy 6. Wide open, trailing DB 2 yards behind him. But because the ball floats, he's able to almost made a pick on that play.
Yeah, that was an easy pitch and catch for 6.
Just has to deliver it with some more fire behind it.
Huntingdon scores late to come back and defeat Barry. It's 27-24. This is Anthony on the keeper, 20 to the 15, behind the blocking of Terrell Brown. 5, Anthony tiptoeing, and he's out of bounds.
At the 1.
Just shy of the end zone. They're going to say stepped out at the 4-yard line. A 21-yard run by Luke Anthony has Wheaton at first and goal from the 4. Again, he's a deceptive athlete when he keeps it. Terrell Brown split left against Arndt. You've got Caleb Brink. That's McJunkin set up tight to the right side, and then Carson Lean stretch Sam Singleton. Singleton walks into the end zone. Touchdown, Thunder.
Yeah, that's the second time on the goal line. Jesse's just dialed up a run right through the tackles, and great job by Sam Singleton. Untouched. I mean, just a really another good drive by Wheaton just to pound it down towards Martin Luther and put the ball in the end zone. Now 43-7 with 2 minutes and 51 seconds left in the third quarter. Griffin Bowes lines up for the extra point.
Had his last one blocked. Gets this one elevated and knocks it through. So 44-7 our score with 2:51 left.
I think even if somebody touches that one, it's going through. He kicked that almost to the soccer field.
Aurora missed the extra point. St. John's quickly with an answer, and it's 34-28. Already 13 points on the board in the first 2.5 minutes of the third quarter up in Collegeville between Aurora and St. John's. Central had them settle for a field goal, so they cut the deficit to 31-10 in favor of the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. So Bo is waiting for the football to be delivered so he can pound this one deep. It's a 4-yard touchdown run for the Wheaton North product, Sam Singleton. (30-7) the lead for Mary Hardin Baylor over Redlands in the third quarter.
That's a tough draw if you're Redlands.
Redlands a
bad
team,
as it can be.
Redlands a team that was deserving of a first-round home game. The national committee chair so much as says so that the NCAA said you got to go back and fix this. So Redlands really getting the short end of the stick and getting the short end of the stick against the Crusaders down 30-7 middle of the third quarter. Winner of that game gets Huntingdon, who came back late to defeat Barry. So the Hawks advance with 3 losses to face the winner of that game. First and 10 from the 25. Denoyer moves to the right of Aguilar. Play fake. Aguilar drops back to pass. Going on a seam route, and that's going to be picked off by Spencer Rowland. He underthrew Micah Jarvis, and that was an easy pick for Spencer Rowland.
That's just too easy. Too easy. You know, University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh at 7-3. It's really hard to figure out the quality of those teams in that conference, right? Because it's so good. They play each other every year. They just beat up on each other. You watch Whitewater and Oshkosh last week for the WIAC title. They just beat up on each other, right? Neither of them could get the ball moving at all. You know that they're capable. They both have Division III title finishes, and it's just amazing to see them enter the playoffs and just beat up on people. Sorry, 8-2 for Oshkosh.
North Central quickly down to the Wabash 16-yard line. There's just no answer for Ethan Greenfield in that game. 21 carries, 253 yards. As Singleton takes the pitch on first down, cuts it back, and Singleton's going to fight his way back to the line of scrimmage. And maybe a hard-earned yard on that play for Sam Singleton.
Ethan Greenfield's a load. I mean, he was deserving of the CCIW first-team all-conference selection. I mean, he's a stud for a young guy, and put up 250 yards in the first round of the Division III playoffs. That's on 21 carries. More than 10 yards a clip.
Wheaton's turned things over to the number 2 offense as Dave Beamer checks into the game at quarterback. Starting to see the twos work in along the front line as well. Fake pitch, and Beamer's got it completion to Matthew Tucker. That was Keith Brasso who just took off, ran right past Beamer on the pitch fake. And Beamer had all day to throw to Matt Tucker.
Yeah, nice fake by Beamer, but he's just gone.
Excuse me, that's Ginsmer. A nice pitch and catch down to the 45-yard line. First and 10 at the Martin Luther 45, minute and a half left in the third quarter. Beamer back to pass, looking for Caleb Brink on the out route. And throws it too far. Pat O'Connell had the best chance to catch that ball wearing the parka there on the sideline.
Well, and I like seeing, as you mentioned, the twos almost entirely in the game now. I like seeing that from Wheaton. We've talked about needing to win convincingly. That's over. You just have to win and move on now. And these guys may be called upon, on the playoff roster. They may be called upon to play in much bigger games than this one. So to get them experience in a playoff game is huge.
This is Singleton on the carry, who is submarined, and he dropped the football. And Gensmer, I believe, has his second fumble recovery of the day.
That's Martin Luther ball.
It is. Dan Gensmer with his second fumble recovery of the day. Got submarined by Rieksecker.
And you just need to have better ball security if you're Wheaton. I mean, if you turn the ball over 3 times next week and the week after, you'll go home. You'll be home pretty quickly.
So first and 10 from their own 45 for the Knights. They've had 3 possessions here in this half. They've thrown 2 interceptions and taken the ball to the house for a touchdown. This is Denoyer on first down, and he's going to be wrapped up for a gain of 2.
There have been several occasions, that one included, where the running back is false starting, and he's not being called for it.
Gamicha a little shaken up there. He's going to hobble off, and Nate Gers comes on to play linebacker. Second and 8 here for Martin Luther. And they will check to the sideline. A couple of the defensive linemen flinched there for the Thunder as Martin Luther stood up and looked to their sideline. This is going to be Joshua Kren, who's going to be bear-hugged and driven backwards by River Schindeldecker. Schindeldecker's had himself a nice game today. It will be 3rd and 7 for the Knights. And they're going to take this to the end of the third quarter. Jake Holliday leads the Thunder with 8 tackles, including 1 for loss. Schindeldecker has 6. Wyatt Lee with 7. Wheaton only has 3 tackles for loss in this game. Martin Luther also with 3 tackles for loss, led by Ian Paulson with 11 tackles. North Central has just added a field goal of 29 yards to take a 31-15 lead. And I have to say, even though they've been almost unstoppable on the ground, that's not quite the point total we expect to see North Central putting up. Wabash staying a little, almost surprisingly competitive in that game as we look at the third quarter stats. Wheaton's run 56 plays for 384 yards. Martin Luther with 48 plays for 213 yards, 138 on the ground. 2 completions for Aguilar for 75 yards. Luke Anthony is 16 of 24, 239 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Neither team has given up a sack in this game.
Well, and something to mention, you mentioned Jake Holliday leads the way for the Thunder with 8 tackles and 1 for loss. He's now the second leading tackler on the Wheaton defense. All the talk about Dallas, obviously, the defensive player of the year in the CCIW, but Jake Holliday's on the absolute load. I mean, the guy just cleans up after, in the middle of the line. He's unbelievable.
Aguilar back to pass on 3rd and 7. Plenty of times, got a man wide open, and he underthrows Ledoux.
Wyatt Lee almost picked that ball off, too. Very close.
And On comes the Martin Luther punt team.
Grant Miller getting held in the middle, too, again.
There have not been, I don't believe, we've had the one penalty called. I don't know that we've had a penalty decline in this game, and somehow there's only been one penalty so far in a playoff game, involving two of the most penalized teams in the country. 4th and 7 from the 48-yard line, and Otto will punt. Spiraling kick. Matt Tucker's going to make the catch at the 16 and step forward to the 22. Martin Luther entered play today, averaging 66.5 yards of penalties per game. That's the 9th worst in the country. Wheaton averaging 84.7 yards of penalties per game. That is the 6th worst in the country. And somehow these two teams have combined for one penalty for 9 yards. 1st and 10 as Beamer picks up the low snap, and that ball is incomplete, intended for Matt Tucker. Second and 10 from the 23. Drops the snap again. Beamer just going to have to take the tackle. Jacob Schmidt makes the tackle, but Beamer going to be brought down for a 5-yard loss, and it's the little things. The offense just has not looked good. Even with the ones, they have not looked good today.
Well, I mean, and we're seeing a very significant drop-off between the ones and the twos here for Wheaton. And that's rough, right? Because these guys could be called upon, so they need to sharpen it up significantly in the event that someone on the starting unit gets hurt.
Beamer back to pass, well protected. Nice catch by Terrell Brown, and he's going to have enough for a first down by about a yard to the 34-yard line. Nice stretch up for Terrell Brown.
It looks like they gave him an NFL spot here because he was down before the yard to gain, but they gave him his momentum.
This official, his knee's down back at the 33.
They gave him 3 yards.
First and 10 at the 34. This crew has had several discrepancies in ball marks, and this is Beamer on the keeper, and Beamer's going to go nowhere. Ponkow makes the tackle for a loss of a yard as Nate Holtz checks back in for the Knights up front. St. John's has now taken the lead with 14 straight points. The missed extra point proving crucial, as now the Johnnies lead by 1. 2nd and 11 from the 33. And this is a give to Singleton off tackle. Singleton hits the seam across the 40, and he's hit hard and barrels through Ian Paulson at the 44-yard line, what should be another Thunder first down.
Yeah, having Singleton back and healthy is great, too, because he's a guy that he always moves the ball forward. You know, he lays hits. He doesn't get taken down in the backfield. I mean, he's on his way down and still lays a hit to the UMAC Player of the Year on defense.
Central has pulled within 31-17 of the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh late in the third quarter. This is Beamer again. Beamer across the 45, and he goes down awkwardly at the 46, and good to see him get right up. Tackle made by Riegsecker.
Yeah, that looked ugly.
Touchdown run by Kai Barber for the Johnnies puts them back up top as Johnny Erdman not going to go quietly. And Aurora, who has given up now the last 14 points of the game, we'll see what their answer is. As Beamer drops back on 2nd and 8, well protected. He's got Tayshawn Gibbs. Tayshawn Gibbs makes the catch, and Tayshawn Gibbs is going to take it to the house.
Man, I love seeing that for Tayshawn Gibbs. You know, a guy who transferred from the University of Louisville. He had a big hype around his...
And we've got a flag. Oh, man.
That's too bad, man. As I was saying, you know, Gibbs is a guy who, a lot of hype when he transferred from Louisville, but just hasn't been healthy and hasn't been the player he wanted to be so far. But, That big touchdown going to get called back for a false start or illegal formation.
Illegal formation.
Tough.
Offense.
Really
More
tough.
than 4 players in the backfield.
Wow.
It's 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat second down.
That was going to be a great feel-good moment for a guy who the program loves. And that, sure enough, Tayshaun Gibbs was covered up on the outside. He was the slot receiver and was covered up, making him ineligible.
That's too bad.
So it'll be 2nd and 13, back to the 41, second penalty of the game. 2 penalties, 14 yards, and we're still waiting for the first penalty to be called against Martin Luther. They're going to go deep again, looking for Caleb Brake, and it's just out of his reach. Had Dan Arndt beat down the sideline, and it falls incomplete around the 20. Third and 13 coming up for the Thunder.
Interesting to see Coach Jesse Scott air it out deep two plays in a row, but obviously he's seeing something, and there have been 2 guys open now. Just haven't been able to connect because of the penalty and then the overthrow by David Beamer.
Tucker and Brink split to the right. Gibbs and Terrell Brown split left. 4-man rush for Martin Luther. Well protected. Nice ball
Good
to Terrell
ball.
Brown. I think that's the same play they just converted
Man.
on. And Terrell Brown climbs the ladder and makes the catch on a well-placed ball from Dave Beamer.
Really nice ball and an even better catch by Terrell Brown there. Just a great play. They ruled it incomplete.
We're going to see it again here on the replay. Brown goes to ground. And it looks like the ball came out at the very end.
Oh, there it is, yep.
He landed on the player, so that he was not down by contact.
He got up making it. It appeared that he thought he caught it.
Yeah, so Bickle on to punt. This ball will bounce and take a nice thunder roll down inside the 10, still rolling to the 9, give him the 8-yard line.
He just finds a way, man. Punt didn't look good off of its leg, but got the thunder roll and down to the 9-yard line again. And what a weapon he is to be able to pin teams back in their own territory, as he's done a dozen times this year.
39 punts this year. Now 23 have landed inside the 20. 15 have now landed inside the 10. And we mentioned the 9 that have landed inside the 5. 1st and 10 from their own 8 for Martin Luther. As Aguilar sits in the backfield with both backs. And this will be a run inside off tackle to
Holiday again.
Wrapped up by Jake Holiday with his 9th tackle of the game. Out to the 11.
There's got to be some power in that braided ponytail of Jake Holiday today. Just piling up tackles. We knew the tackles were going to light up the stat sheet today, but I did not expect so few tackles for loss. But it's a big game for Jake Holiday.
Single wide out look for Martin Luther on 2nd and 7. With a quick check to the sideline before they call this play inside of 11 minutes left in the game. Play fake, and Aguilar's back to pass. Aguilar going to air this one out to Jarvis, and it's almost intercepted. It went right through the hands, and it looked like it hit the face mask of Caleb Egbert. And Egbert, who had an interception last week against Elmhurst, narrowly misses another one. And it will be 3rd and 7 for the Knights. North Central driving again with Ethan Greenfield nearing 300 yards rushing. Brock Rutter's only 9 of 11 for 116 yards, and North Central leads Wabash 31-15. Nate Stein makes the carry.
Our former sideline reporter.
Nate Stein carries that one up for a gain of 6.
And Holiday with tackle number 10 on the day.
This is the offense staying out on the field right now for Martin Luther from their own 17. And here comes the punt unit. Already converted one, 4th and 1.
Well, that the game was still very much within their reach at that point, but down 44-7 with 10 minutes left in the game. the game is over for all intents and purposes, and there's just no point in pinning, giving the ball to Wheaton inside the 20-yard line.
So Tucker calls for the fair catch, and he will backpedal to the 40 and make it. Brockport has held off Western New England 33-28, and they will advance to face Muhlenberg in the second round. So the East region is set for the second round matchup. Salisbury will host Union, and Muhlenberg will host Brockport. Kickoff just taking place out at Chapman, where they are hosting Linfield in the last kickoff of the day. As Beamer gives this on a delayed handoff to Singleton, steps out of a couple tackles, and Singleton is somehow going to get 7 yards out of this carry.
I'm telling you, man, the way the kid runs, he likes to square up and run north and south and does a great job of just moving the ball down the field. He doesn't try to get too cute. He just power football. As he runs sideways, of course, I say that. But, typically when he gets himself going north and south, he's a load to bring down. Very impressive for the sophomore.
2nd and 3 after the run by Singleton. He'll take the carry again, fighting back against the current, and he will maybe get back to the line of scrimmage. Ponkow makes the tackle. It'll be 3rd and 3. Greenfield into the end zone for the 5th time today. A 5-yard touchdown run, and North Central pulling away from Wabash now 38-15 at the end of the third quarter.
And clearly the coaching staff at North Central saw something in that porous Wabash defense to say, we're committing to the run today, and it doesn't matter what Brock Rudder's stat sheet looks like. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, but if you can run it at people like that, just go ahead and do it.
Beamer on the rollout, going to set up and throw deep. Got a man with a step. That's Terrell Brown, and he can't bring it in again. Terrell Brown's had one really impressive catch and 4 near catches.
Very near. All in traffic, too. All with people all over him.
That's a nice throw by Beamer to set his feet. Good spiral. And good coverage on the play from Aiden Holeen, trailing him all the way across the field to break that ball up, and Bickle will come on and punt again. Gibbs motioning on the punt, and now Bickle puts this high in the air, and the catch will be made at the 13-yard line. So yet another one inside the 20 for John Bickle. Aurora continues to trail St. John's 35-34 as the Spartans failed to pick up a 4th down just across midfield and quickly sack Johnny Erdman 2 times and force a 3-and-out. So we'll see what Don Beebe's crew can put together in what's become a very entertaining game up there in Collegeville. Aguilar will play fake and step back to pass. Going to go deep again. Egbert in coverage and incomplete. And I don't know that Egbert probably shouldn't have been called for PI there, just for not turning around to find the football. Running with Joshua Kren. But again, you have to give credit to this Martin Luther offensive line. They have kept Ethan Aguilar clean.
They really have.
He's only completed 2 passes, but he is yet to be sacked. Neither team has given up a sack.
I mean, it's amazing how different their lines are on offense and defense. You have a very undersized, active defensive line, and they just have mooses up front. They're big dudes, all 275, 300 pounds.
Speaking of big dudes, Grant Miller makes the tackle on that run by Nate Stein for a gain of a yard. Stein, the senior out of Poynette, Wisconsin. It'll be 3rd and 8 for Martin Luther. Knights certainly with nothing to hang their heads about in today's performance. A couple of takeaways to get on the board. They have frustrated the Thunder offense, which has not operated very cleanly today. 3rd and 8 here for Aguilar, who drops straight back. Pressure coming from Ben Locos, and he's going to find a man wide open. It's Ben Hodel, but a huge hit by Nate Gers in the open field will not let him get a first down. Nate Gers with the stick.
That is textbook tackling right there.
Ben Locos,
what a stick.
Unchecked behind Aguilar. First time Aguilar's been hit throwing the ball. And here you see the great tackle by Nate Gers.
Just a perfect tackle. Squared him up and kept his feet moving and put him on the ground.
So it'll be Micah Otto to punt once again for the Knights. This one is angled towards the Thunder sideline. Not much distance on it. Will bounce at midfield, and it'll take a Knight roll for what might be a while now. It had that clean spiraling roll, but it rolls across the 40 to the 39-yard line while Wheaton will take over with 6 minutes and 42 seconds remaining. Fourth quarter in Pella, and Central appears to be driving again against UW Oshkosh. They're trying to erase a 31-7 deficit. They're back to within 31-17.
We watch that game closely because the winner of that game will travel to Wheaton next week for the second round game of the playoffs.
This is Will Smith on the misdirection. Choppy steps across the 40 to the 44. And the Fresh Prince with a 5-yard carry on first down.
And, the depth that Wheaton has at running back is impressive. I think it's the deepest unit we've ever had at the running back position. I mean, you've got your clear-cut TJ Williams is the number 1, but then you've got 2A, 2B, and 2C, and Will Smith, Sam Singleton, and Stone Watson in no particular order.
Throwing, and it is almost intercepted. He threw it too far in front of Matt Tucker, and Joe Harroweg wasn't expecting to get that ball cleanly through to him, and it goes off his hands and incomplete.
Yeah, that's one where he was looking for the hit and then realized the ball was there.
Yeah, his eyes came down to the defensive tackle running into his face, and he missed an open receiver. Mary Hardin Baylor leading Redlands 30-7. Chapman with a quick score over Linfield, 7-0. Beamer has Tucker, who gets tangled up with the defensive back.
I think that was just their feet.
That's just incidental contact there as he got tripped up with Ian Paulson.
Yeah, Coach Swider wanted PI on this, but I didn't see it. I think they just got their feet tangled up, which is not interference unless it's done purposefully, but he just tripped up.
That's a good no call there. And boy, Aurora just almost took the lead again, incomplete in the end zone, but almost a heck of a diving catch.
John Bickle out to punt again. See if he can drill one down towards the 10-yard line again.
Two guys back for the Knights, and this one is low and driven, rushing up to get a Hodel. This is going to be a fumble, and I don't know if I don't think Martin Luther got it back.
I think that's Wheaton ball.
That's Tayshawn Gibbs who slid in there and smothered it. It didn't look, not a whole lot of hang time as Bickle was trying to play the role, and Hodel came rushing up to try to make the play.
Yeah, this is a dangerous proposition for this returner anyways, running up towards with his hands in the air. I mean, he's going to get teed off on either way. Isn't able to field it cleanly and then doesn't realize the ball's right at his feet. So he's standing over watching it, and Tayshawn Gibbs is able to recover it for Wheaton, who will take over on Martin Luther's 24-yard line.
Smith in the backfield, Tucker and Brown to the right side. Caleb Brink split to the left. Inside of 6 minutes remaining here in this first-round game. Give is to Will Smith up the middle. Smith tried to bounce to the outside. He's going to be pushed forward for a few more yards.
6 yards on the carry. And, again, Will Smith, I mean, just a guy who in the Wash U game came up big and had 120 yards rushing, and a guy who's, when he gets his chance, man, he rumbles.
Jalen Schaefer pushing him for a couple extra yards there. Second and 5 from the 19 for the Thunder. They spread with three wide receivers right. Now Tucker in motion. They will give to Will Smith, and that's well read.
Yeah, just really good defense right there. Really good play by that D-line and the linebacker flow.
Abel Bain makes that tackle, but that's a different look for the Thunder. They haven't run that kind of flatter motion across.
And Will Smith just had no chance on that play. I mean, received the handoff, and Abel Kane was in his face.
So we see the freshman check into the backfield for the Thunder, Kyle Carter. Carter takes over on the right hip of Dave Beamer on 3rd and 7 from the 21-yard line. And he will play fake, and he connects with Tucker. Tucker fighting to get to the 15. The sticks are just past the 15. I don't think he got there. He's going to be about half a yard
on the
shy.
line. Yeah, right on the 15, so he's going to be shy. And I mean, I'd probably go for it here, right, just to keep the chains moving, keep the clock rolling.
Yeah,
no need to put extra points on the board, right?
Will Smith quickly into the game. No real hesitation here for the Thunder. And Aurora has taken the lead. Once again, and as the third quarter drawing to the close, we'll see if they choose to go for 2, because right now they are only up 5 after the missed extra point. Martin Luther showing blitz. Dave Beamer quickly going to rush to the line. And they will play fake and give to Carter. Carter breaks a tackle, but he gets the first down. We saw this look earlier this season. They ran it with the fullback package with Hibben. And Holes made a great read to not let Carter break that loose.
It's a really good play by the defensive end there, too, to force the right tackle into the backfield, almost make the play, but Carter's able to make the line of gain needed for the first down. Great play by Wheaton. First down here with 3:30 left in the game. I expect them to just roll clock off, right? We talked about you don't need to win convincingly anymore. There's no reason to score. It's not in Coach Swider's nature to score unnecessarily unless he needs to. And
Beamer on the keeper, and he's going to run into Graham Wall and be brought down back at the line of scrimmage.
Interesting that it appeared to be a play call, a pass call, as the time dwindles.
It looked like they were just trying to get that into the flat to Will Smith, almost as an extended handoff, but it was well read by C.J. Fury, who was sitting right in the passing lane. And the clock rolls inside of 3 minutes. Wheaton in no rush here as they will savor the end of a first-round victory. Beamer back to pass, going to throw the fade to Caleb Brink. Brink makes the catch, touchdown Thunder. Nice ball from Beamer. And again, we've got a flag, though. We've got an illegal man downfield, it appears. As quickly as that ball was thrown, I'm not sure how that's possible.
Ineligible receiver downfield. Offense number 59. 5-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
It's Graham Wall who is called for the penalty.
Like you said, Rusty, it happens so fast. I don't even know how it's possible.
Graham Wall is going to be the right tackle here. You'll see him at the bottom of your screen.
Oh, yeah, that's a good call.
He is sprinting downfield.
That's a good call. Don't know why he thought he was on a pass route on that play, apparently, but it was the right call because he was sprinting towards the goal line.
Second touchdown that Wheaton has waved off by penalty here in the second half.
Probably just a play for Graham Wall, a freshman this year. You know, just thought it was a running play, so went ahead and just tried to find somebody in the second level. But
now they're going to go for it again. This is Gibbs. No, that's Terrell Brown, and very well defended by Holeen. Very good coverage by Holeen as Brown tried to climb the ladder. Aurora did not get the 2-point conversion, so the Spartans lead St. John's 40-35 as they have 6 seconds left in the third quarter. North Central has taken a 44-15 lead as Brock Rudder finally has a touchdown.
Has Greenfield eclipsed the 300 yet?
He is at 289 yards on 27 carries. He has yet to lose a yard today. 5 touchdowns, averaging 10.7 yards per carry. Rudder to Kaminsky for the touchdown. Kaminsky's got 9 catches for 163 yards as North Central leads Wabash 44-15. Central back within a touchdown of UW Oshkosh, 31-24. Again, the winner, Wheaton will get the winner of that game as Beamer drops back to pass on 3rd and 15. Looks like he's going to run. He evades the tackle in the backfield, splits a pair of tacklers, and Dave Beamer's into the end zone. Touchdown, Thunder.
I can live with that, right? You wonder why they're throwing the ball all around the yard at 44-7. Just throwing it towards the end zone, putting points on the board instead of running the clock out. But, I mean, Dave Beamer into the end zone again. You know that the Wheaton sideline loves that as he's a guy the program has loved for a long time. He's been around forever and paid his dues. So here he is in the end zone for a second straight week. And just great job by Dave Beamer. And exciting for Wheaton. Put another 50 points on the board in the first week of the playoffs. Now you just got to get ready for your next one. That one's coming down to the wire with 8:46 left. Oshkosh leads Central 31-24.
Yeah, and watching the video of that game, it appeared that Central had blocked a punt, and then as it was rolling dead, they picked it up, and they only had 1 or 2 guys to beat, but they called the ball dead before it was picked up. So Central's going to have the ball at their own 36. There's 8:46 left in that game. Again, Wheaton will get the winner of that game next week here at McCully Stadium. Mary Hardin Baylor 36-7 over Redlands as they start the fourth quarter. Down in Belton, Chapman leading Linfield 7-0. And they have turned to the fourth quarter with Aurora leading St. John's 40-35. So the left side of the bracket still very much up for grabs. As Bose approaches this kickoff. And Holden will make the fair catch at the 2.
I think if you would have looked at that St. John's and Aurora game and expected 75 points to be on the board between the two of them, and the fourth quarter hasn't even started yet, you'd be crazy.
UW Whitewater leading Monmouth 35-10. Pretty good showing there for the Scots. Monmouth, who scored with 5 seconds left in the Midwest Conference Championship game to beat St. Norbert and punch their ticket to the postseason. An outcome that did Wheaton a favor because it brought Monmouth back into the regional rankings.
Well, and we talked about that in week 1, Rusty, when we were at Monmouth playing in that game. It's like, Wheaton pretty handily won that game. The offense they had just decided on the quarterback, so it wasn't clicking yet. It was week 1, right? You have to figure out the flow of the game. But Wheaton wins that game 32-7 and ends up, we said Monmouth is probably going to be a playoff team, even though they didn't look very good on that Saturday.
They have changed quarterback several times. Their defense looked good that day. They've got strong pedigree of success there. As a bobbled snap, this is the backup quarterback, a freshman, Colin Olson, into the game, freshman from New Berlin, Wisconsin.
So there are a couple question marks. You see Ryan Schwartz leaves the field. Tarini was being checked on he came up limp after a deep ball, and health is going to be the biggest concern for this Wheaton team as a whole. You see Corey Kennedy get shaken up a little bit, and it's you need your health from your top guys. It's absolutely imperative because the depth just isn't there in specific units.
Stein makes the third down carry for a gain of 2. And again, it's not that Wheaton doesn't have quality depth. It's that they have very quality starters.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not that these guys stepping up aren't.
They're good players.
They're good players,
yeah.
But you have a very good caliber starting unit. The best defense in the country statistically. Jackson Erdman has St. John's all the way down to the 3-yard line. Yet again, that game might come down to who has the ball last. They go for it on 4th and 4 from their own 31-yard line, and they're nowhere close.
And this game will be over. Wheaton fully expect them to just take the knee, run the clock out with 39 seconds left. Martin Luther, no point in taking their timeouts. It was the outcome is about as we expected, right? It appeared that it was going to be a blowout win, and it was. And now Wheaton will stay home next week and face the winner of Oshkosh and Central.
And Central is driving
coming down the wire.
Oshkosh territory. We will not have post-game interviews for you due to the 10-minute cooling off period. You can find the post-game the press conferences available on the Wheaton website at athletics.wheaton.edu, where you will find statistics from this game and a full write-up. Our final score today, Wheaton advancing. They remain undefeated in the first round of the NCAA playoffs. 51-7 is the final score here from McCully Stadium. Again, for those tuning in, this is the first of a triple header of action at 5 o'clock. The Elite 8 round of the NCAA soccer tournament will feature Carnegie Mellon against St. Thomas over at Joe Bean Stadium. And at 7 o'clock tonight, the Wheaton men's basketball team in action against Olivet College. Next week will be a noon kickoff between either the Dutch of Central College or the Titans of the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. We'll have your pregame starting around 11:30 here on the Wheaton Thunder Sports Network. For Dan Studebaker and Rusty Lindsay, thanks for tuning in. Today our final score 51-7. The Thunder moved to 11-0. We'll be back next week for the second round. You've been watching NCAA football from WTSN.